perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
What's up, everybody? It is the Vegas Take Friday. Hopefully everybody's in a good mood. I'm in an average mood, as if anybody cared. Welcome to the show. We got a lot to get to, a lot to go over, and a lot of great guests, as we always do on this show. Mr. X, the Hollywood conservative, will be coming up in hour number 2. We're going to go over this mess that was Biff, also known as Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. ended up on The View yesterday, and it was a mess. We'll get to that coming up. Interesting, O.J. Simpson is following a lawsuit, and it has something to do with TMZ Sports and the Cosmopolitan. So what better day to have Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports to come on to talk a little bit about that. Also, poker player Noah Sandler will be joining us. Well, why are we having a poker player on? Well, there's a lot of poker players that are calling themselves members of the Yang Gang. Yang, the man who is running for president of the United States, and why poker players are so much in support of this man. It has a lot to do with poker. We'll get to that coming up in hour number 3. We're going to get to this Jim Jordan sex scandal. I find it very ironic that if a woman is topless and she happens to be a politician and a picture gets leaked out somewhere, she has to resign. But Jim Jordan, who apparently allegedly did absolutely nothing when it comes to this sex scandal, when he was an assistant coach over there at Ohio State. He gets to keep his job, though. That's okay. You want to talk about hypocrisy at its finest. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that coming up a little bit later in the program. But obviously, the big story, we've been covering it all week. It's made national news, and it is the controversial decision by Mayor Carolyn Goodman putting an ordinance in place that if a homeless person is seen on the streets, living on the streets in some zones in Las Vegas, not only could they face up to a $1,000 fine, which is laughable because most of these people don't have a dollar to their name, but they could also spend up to 6 months in prison. It is, in my personal opinion, it is completely ridiculous. I know what they're trying to do, but this isn't going to work. And it really makes Las Vegas look bad. I think it's the biggest mistake that Carolyn Goodman has made since she's been mayor. And I can't imagine that her husband, Oscar Goodman, is supportive of this. We're going to try to get Oscar on the show to talk a little bit about this, but this is a big problem. And the people who support this, like Carolyn Goodman, say, well, look, we want to get these people into the local shelters. Well, guess what? The problem is, according to many of these homeless people, some of which even called into the show yesterday, is that many of these local shelters are full to capacity. And there's articles this morning saying just that. I mean, Channel 8 interviewed some of these people that run some of these shelters. They say they need more space, that they don't have enough to accommodate these homeless people. So if there's not enough space to accommodate these homeless people, why are you going to make them suffer and, turn them into jail, behind a jail cell, and fine them money that you're never going to get? That's not solving the problem. So you say to yourself, well, why don't you ask Mayor Carolyn Goodman about this? Well, here's some good news for you. At the end of our show yesterday, you might have missed it. Maybe you heard it. But at the end of our show yesterday, the very end of our show, Carolyn Goodman called in. And we had about 10 minutes or so to talk to Carolyn Goodman about this issue. She's been very busy. But a day after this ordinance passed, Carolyn Goodman called into the show. So here's the interview in its entirety, in case you missed it, at the latter end of our show yesterday. This is the Vegas Take, myself and JD interviewing the mayor, Carolyn Goodman, about this very issue. Carolyn, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Thank you, Carolyn.
I couldn't be better. Thank you very much. Are you calling from Las Vegas?
We are here in Las Vegas. We are in the KDWN studios, and your husband I've known your husband for years. He's been on my show plenty of times. And
yes,
well,
our weather is great. We've been hearing from different parts of the country, so some of the places aren't enjoying our wonderful weather. You go ahead right to your question.
We are right here in Las Vegas, and I've always had a great amount of respect for you and your husband.
Thank you.
But this is a very difficult subject we've been talking about this morning, and that is the homeless issue. So this new ordinance put into place, a homeless person. Let me start with the fine, because I'm confused about this, Carolyn, and maybe you can help me out with this. If you are homeless, you don't have means to a lot of money, so what is a fine going to do to solve the situation?
It's not about that at all, and the goal is not to criminalize homelessness or send them to jail. It is about getting those who can make choices to come in and get the help to get back into a life of great integrity for themselves and worth and value, and get back into job training, get a job, and get housing. So it's not the negative end that is the one that's more exciting for everybody to complain about. That is not the purpose of this at all. And as you know, I mean, the advocates that are for helping the homeless get back into life, and our service providers, that's what we're all after, is getting them into the needed programs, jobs, and housing. You cannot, the housing is an issue across this country, has been since the first year of President Obama, with whom we worked with their cabinet to talk about this interim housing. But for some, they're not ready for housing. They have to get ready to get back into the world first, and that's part of this.
Sure.
We're trying to ask for a choice, come to make the choice to get help.
Okay, now I don't disagree with you with what you just said, but my question to you is, if that's the case, then why even put this on the books? Why put somebody, or even put it on the books where somebody could, in fact, spend up to 6 months in jail if they're homeless? Why even put that on the books?
Because that's not choice-making on their part. These probably, if it were to come to that, first of all, they're homeless. They probably don't have the money. That's number one. If, in fact, they're homeless and they're not of sound mind or body or in a position to make a choice that I want help me, in some cases where severe drug and alcohol is the condition, a time in the jail where they will be in a sanitary condition, they will have meals, will be a time for them to realize they will detox automatically, at which point now they're in a position to make a choice because the drugs aren't clouding everything, and they will make the choice, oh my gosh, I can get back into the world now, I want my family back, I want help. And that this is a help-driven incentive. That won't go into place anyway until February 1st, and nobody will be picked up and incarcerated at all if, in fact, that we have beds. It's only when the choice is made not to take advantage of the choice to have a bed. When the beds are filled in every place in our social service network and what the city is providing, if there are beds available, we expect them to come in. That's the choice they have. Otherwise, they can be fined with a misdemeanor. This is not a felony, a misdemeanor, and try to help them get into good choice making. So they will come in for help. This is all help-driven, not criminal or penalty-driven.
And I agree. The argument is, are they safer on the streets or are they safer in jails? You mentioned the ordinance specifically mentions specific public places where they can be picked up for this. Can you specify what those places are?
There's a map, and I don't have one in front of me. The area, if you go online to the city website, you should have the entire PowerPoint or an access to ask for the PowerPoint that was presented yesterday so well, and showing the areas, but not in residential areas, of course, and in the heart of the city.
If you're just joining us, it is Mayor Carolyn Goodman talking about this new ordinance with the homeless. Okay, so let me ask you this. I know your husband is no longer the mayor, and I have great respect for him, but he's talked about this issue before publicly, and he mentioned maybe bus some of these people to Jean, where there is a jail, a former jail there, where they could get that thing up and running, where perhaps that could be an option. Have you discussed that with your husband, and is that something down the road that maybe you would consider?
Well, knowing that I'm into my 9th year as mayor, and he did 12 years, where it happened, and until I came up with my plea to Governor Sandoval starting probably 7 years ago, I was asking only for the use of the women's prison in Jean, which he had a duplicate of up in the Reno-Carson area that was unused, a women's prison for our severely mentally ill. These are people that are so sadly handicapped by the depths of the mental illness. They can't make choices that are wise for them. They do live in a very challenged sanitary and health condition. They are harmful to themselves and others. And I called him, and what I subsequently found out, and that has been more recently, but I did keep on Governor Sandoval to ask him could he work this through, that facility, that women's prison in Jean, is operated by the Department of Prisons. It was used for a while by the Clark County School District for storage, and it did sit vacant. I absolutely, since that time, and so much has happened during the past 8 years as we created the Corridor of Hope, and all of our social services have really developed and grown to help with Three Square and everyone working together for the homeless, that we really then, with no barriers, created and continue to create and develop the courtyard. That, in fact, gave us the opportunity for those who make the choice to get back into life and want help to help that component of the homeless. The ones that are the severely mentally challenged that cannot make that choice, that is a perfect place. Our Muni Court has said they would work and help. We have psychologists and psychiatrists that are offering to volunteer. The problem, it's stuck in state government. And so that was why I even had the Department of Health in here probably talking about that, because this population can't care for themselves. And for a caring community, which Las Vegas is, it's absolutely appalling that these people have to live in the awful environment that they don't know how to fix. They can't make that choice.
Well, yeah.
So to answer you, the answer is absolutely yes. Oscar was looking at it, what you've told me, and what he may have told me 12 years ago was for the homeless. I'm not. This is only for the severely mentally ill that need protection from the rest of society as well as from themselves and others of the same challenge.
Yeah, well, we definitely agree on that. I'm sure you would agree as well. This is a very complex issue. There's no easy solution. Unfortunately, we got to get going. Carolyn, I appreciate your time, and I hope we can have you on again soon, sometime down the road. Maybe we can get a little deeper into this and get you on again. But we really do appreciate your time. We know how busy you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason. Bye-bye.
All right. Appreciate that. There you go. All right, there you go. That is Carolyn Goodman, mayor of Las Vegas. We caught up with her yesterday, and, listen, I agree with some of the stuff she said. I certainly don't agree with all that. This is a very complex issue. There is no easy solution, but the problem is these local shelters, and Channel 8 did some great reporting and spoke to some of these people that are running these shelters, and they said, look, the problem here is that we don't have enough room for these homeless people. So the idea that this is what I don't like. We're hearing this narrative that many of these people that are homeless in Las Vegas, well, they're choosing to be homeless, or, they have the opportunity to have a bed and to have some free meals, and they're choosing not to do that. Now, maybe in some cases, maybe there are a small percentage of the homeless that don't want help. And I would say that a lot of that probably is due to people that are mentally ill. But the idea that all these homeless people, well, you better go to that shelter, because if you don't go to the shelter, we're going to give you a $1,000 fine and you're going to spend up to 6 months in jail. That is absurd. That is ridiculous. Think about the people that just called into our show yesterday that have been homeless, that are living out of their cars, and say, look, there's no room for me in these shelters. Many of these shelters, in most cases, from what I've heard, are full to capacity. And if that is the case, Where the hell else are these homeless people supposed to go? Your reaction to that interview with Mayor Carolyn Goodman. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. We'll take your phone calls, 702-257-5396. Your reaction to that, 702-257-5396. Phone calls next. You're listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising. This ad is sponsored by Case Legal Media. Attention! This is an important message for anyone that has been diagnosed with cancer after being exposed to Roundup or other weed killers. The Internal Agency for Research on Cancer warned that overexposure to Roundup and other weed killers may increase the risk of developing non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Monsanto, the manufacturer of Roundup, may have known that Roundup and other weed killers were likely linked to organ damage and cancer. This information was hidden from the public as proprietary trade secret since 1981, and Monsanto may have failed to warn of the potential risk of cancer. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with cancer after being exposed to Roundup or other weed killers, you may be entitled to significant compensation. Call us now at 800-479-5326. Our network of attorneys are ready to fight for you. You'll pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. Call now for a free consultation at 800-479-5326. You must protect your legal rights. Call 800-479-5326. Again, 800-479-5326.
So how's your boy doing in school?
Not so good. His grades are getting worse, and all he does is play video games, and when I finally get him to do his homework, he says he doesn't understand it.
Oh, that sounds like my daughter. Well, not anymore.
What do you mean not anymore?
My daughter started going to the Infinity Math Institute about 3 months ago. I sent her there as a punishment because she got an F in math. Boy, was she mad at me. But 1 week later, she was talking about how much she liked it. Now she has an A in math, and all her other grades have gone up too.
Get out of here. That sounds too good to be true.
I know, but it is true. When I went down there to check it out, I couldn't believe how nice everything was and how everyone was so nice. I never knew anything like this even existed.
I went to another tutoring place, and they were too expensive. It didn't help all that much. Infinity must be super expensive.
That's the craziest thing. They're less expensive than any of the other places and so much more effective. You should call them. They even have scholarships for families with financial struggles. Tell them Sharp and Shapiro sent you for a discount.
I will. What's their number?
702-768-1777. That's 768-1777, or you can visit them at themathinstitute.com. Don't get more math problems, get solutions.
Parents, you always say you want what's best for your children. If that's the case, then you should be bringing your kid to Infinity, the Math Institute, where every student earns an A or B in math. Our results are proven and they are amazing. The best tutoring service for the best price, whether online or in person, small group or one-on-one. You cannot get better results. Great grades will come when your child truly understands the math. From elementary math to calculus, we have the best tutors, the best materials, and the best results. Now offering free parent seminars on how to better help your child, what is Common Core, and more. Find out why parents are bragging and students are enjoying school again by calling 702-768-1777. That's 702-768-1777, or visit themathinstitute.com today. Tell them the Vegas Take sent you, because at Infinity, you don't get more math problems, you get solutions.
Steve Sanchez, weekdays 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDAWN.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro coming up here in just a few minutes. We're going to get to this Jim Jordan sex scandal story. But before we do that, I want to continue the discussion. The homeless, the new ordinance that Mayor Carolyn Goodman put in place. A homeless person could be fined up to $1,000 and spend up to 6 months in jail for just trying to survive and living on the streets. I got to tell you, some people that are on the inside disagree with this, including Deacon Tom Roberts of the Catholic Charities of Southern Nevada. He helps run some of these shelters, and he said he doesn't approve of this whole thing of forcing someone to find a shelter. But he said, I'm not exactly sure how they expect this to work when there's already more demand than there is supply, something I've been saying all week. Also, Salvation Army Director of Social Services Juan Salinas said, if there is something we can do, then we'll definitely do something to help. But he also went on to the fact that, look, this needs to be discussed more in detail, and they just don't have the supply and demand. They just don't have enough beds. They just don't. It's that simple. The number to call if you want to be a part of this conversation, 257-5396. Again, that number, 702-257-5396, talking about the homeless issue and your reaction to our interview last segment, which we just played with Mayor Carolyn Goodman. 257-5396. Let's start off with Carl. Carl, what do you think about all this?
What's up, Carl?
Good, guys. The field I was in, I'm retired now, but a good 60 to 65%.
Wait, what is that? What's that field again?
Huh?
What's that field again, Carl?
The percentage?
No, what's the field that you were in?
Okay, let's just move on, Carl. Go ahead. Thank you,
Yeah.
JD. Let's just go ahead, Carl. Keep going.
Yeah, well, I was a psychologist, so
Yes.
that's beside the point. Good
Yes, it
60
is.
to 65% of the people are either homeless or generally mentally impaired or physically impaired by some point. And as a matter of fact, on that point, I think from Trump and most of his administration should be homeless, if that goes with that. I'm just kidding about that. But
I think that's fair. That makes sense.
That's fair.
Right.
Okay, but that's the problem. Now, to put them in prison or jail, it costs anywhere from $75 to $125 a day to keep them in with guards, so forth, and whatever. You can put them up in a Motel 6 for $40 to $50 a day. I mean, think about that.
Well, that's a good point, Carl, and I don't disagree with you. And as I've said before, and thank you for the call, this is a very complex issue. There is no easy solution.
No.
The number to call, 257-5396, 702-257-5396.
But last time I checked, Motel 6 is not funded by the government.
It is not. Let's go to Bruce. Bruce, you're next on the Vegas Take. What do you think about this?
Hey, Brian, JD, good morning.
What's
Morning.
up, Bruce?
My story is a little bit different. I became disabled. I was an electrician for many years, and that prevented me from working. I'm kind of like part-time homeless, which sounds crazy, but thank God I have a friend that owns a motel, and he lets me do kind of a little bullshit security job, excuse my language, and he provides me with a room, but that's like 4 nights a week, so the other 3 nights I'm out there. But I just got one real quick point. The main thing about the people on the street is really they're trying to rest or sleep, and it wouldn't be too hard, in my opinion, to just create some kind of like area with some army cots. I'm certain they could find some of those in the surplus and some blankets and stuff and give them some water, whatever it is, just to provide them maybe a shower in the morning, just to give them a little bit of human dignity.
Yeah, I agree.
The big thing is it's the people that have a job and are responsible, and they see all these people laying around on the street, and the business owners don't like it, and it just keeps going from one thing to another. But really, the majority of them are really just looking for a place to rest. And
well, you're right. And Bruce,
it doesn't seem like it would be that hard to provide that for them.
I agree with you, Bruce. And by the way, I'm sorry about your situation. I'm happy that you have a friend that's able to help you. But I hope you can get out of that situation you're in. And you stated your case eloquently, and you're right. A lot of these people need some help, and some people want to call it a handout. I call it about being passionate about others. I want to bring up the Review Journal here real quickly because to me, this is just unbelievable. We have a serious story, a big story with this homeless issue. It has turned into a national story. I think Carolyn Goodman told us she did like dozens of national interviews in regards to this stuff. And yesterday, on the front of the Review Journal, on the front of their paper, rightfully so, it's about this homeless issue. It says homeless camping ban passes council. Very appropriate. And then right above that, you see a picture of Vegas Golden Knights star William Karlsson. It's a big picture of him right above this huge story, and it's an article about his hair. So we have a story right underneath it, a very serious issue of many people living on the streets that could go to jail or face a fine, controversial. And then right above it, the Review Journal has nothing else better to put up there than a picture of William Karlsson smiling, talking about his hairdo. And the reporters for the Vegas Golden Knights for the RJ have nothing better to ask these players about a teammate's hair. It is disgraceful. It is embarrassing. This is our paper. Well, not really my paper. It's kind of like how I feel about Donald Trump, right? Yeah, he sort of is our president, but I don't really feel like he's my president. I kind of feel that way about the Review Journal. This is disgraceful. And I'm not going to spend more than 2 minutes on this, but it's a joke. And I have friends at the Review Journal. Mark Anderson has been doing my show for 7 years. I know people at the Journal that do a fantastic job. There's a few bad apples in there. I don't care to mention their name,
Mark
and then we got to go to break.
Nick Akers does well. Johnny Katz does well.
Well, yeah, we got to go to break. I don't want to spend too much more time on this. What type? I want to know the person who made that decision, the editor or the person who decided to put right on the front of the newspaper the homeless issue, which is a national story, and then right above it, a picture of William Karlsson smiling, not even about the game, but about his haircut. What a bunch of clowns over there at the Review-Journal. Good job, fellas. You're really representing the city really well. And then you wonder why these papers aren't selling like they used to. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. The Jim Jordan sex scandal coming up next.
President Trump contends the impeachment inquiry is part of an effort to shut him down.
I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it.
The president says he blocked the testimony of his acting chief of staff before the inquiry because he didn't want to give the investigation credibility. But Mick Mulvaney says he didn't appear because he has absolute immunity. Transcripts are expected shortly from the impeachment interviews of Fiona Hill and Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman. A lawsuit alleges a second person told Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan about sexual misconduct by a former Ohio State wrestling coach. Jordan at the time was also a coach and allegedly dismissed the claim. The coach is accused of sexually abusing hundreds of young men over several years. The Dow is down about 40 points. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by Dispatch Health. Watch for slowing for a crash on the 215 Northern Beltway eastbound at Pecos Road. Vehicles at the off-ramp. Also a crash on the 215 Western Beltway southbound Summerlin Parkway. Again, that's on the transition ramp. And an accident I-15 southbound at Sahara. Vehicles are off to the right. When you're sick, every minute counts. Go to dispatchhealth.com where high-quality medical care comes to you. Visit dispatchhealth.com to learn about medical professionals who make house calls. Dispatch Health, covered by most insurance. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
So there's this guy named Jordan, and he's a healthy guy. He's a dad of 6, and he works as a guide in Alaska. But then he goes to the doctor, and he's diagnosed with cancer, stage 4. And here's the thing. He had switched from medical insurance to MediShare, which is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry. So the question for Jordan and his wife Jenny was, is this really going to work?
Our medical bills exceeded $160,000. MediShare members shared all our bills.
And it was about more than just the money, too. This is a real community.
MediShare is a family, a group of people that stick with you through the hardest times of your life. I just don't know how I could have done it without MediShare.
It's so worth looking into. There's a reason this is growing so fast. If you want to find out more, here's a number for you. 844-91-BIBLE. That's 844-91-BIBLE. 844-91-BIBLE.
Hey, everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from the Vegas Take Care. I want to share with you a story. I was driving to meet somebody for lunch in the Valley one day when I was stopped at a red light, hit from behind by a driver going around 40 miles an hour. My car was totaled. I suffered injuries. I needed help. I contacted Van Law Firm. Within a few days, I was getting the medical treatment I needed, and within 6 months, I received the maximum settlement. Give Van Law Firm a call, 702-500-HURT, for a free consultation. You pay nothing unless they win. It's the Van Law Firm. Call them, 702-500-HURT, and mention you heard it from the Vegas Take.
Does your child love math? Do they just love math so much that once they finish their homework, they want to work on extra math problems just for fun? Anyone? If you answered no, then you are not alone. While your child may not think math is important for their future, we know better. That's because Infinity the Math Institute offers the best math tutors in Las Vegas, produces the best results at the best prices for kids of all ages. Infinity the Math Institute does it all. Does your child need prep for the SATs? Right now, SAT preparation classes in November are just $15. Fractions, algebra, geometry, decimals, you name it. Plus, Infinity offers homeschool programs, free seminars for parents and students. And whether your child is transitioning from elementary school to middle school to high school, or preparing for college, Infinity can help. Classes are filling up. Call us now to find out more. 702-768-1777. That's 768-1777. You want the best results for your child? One call to Infinity can have a huge impact on your child's future. Call now, 768-1777. Tell them the Vegas Take sent you.
And now a message from the traffic cone you ran over on Blue Diamond last week.
Okay, ow, that hurt. I know, you're in a hurry, but I could have been killed. Look, I have a wife and a baby cone on the way. I'm out there risking it all. And for what? I'll tell you. Southern Nevada's economic future. I'm helping the I-11 get built and the Centennial Bowl. So show a cone a little love.
Love the cone. For road construction details, visit seeingorangenv.com or call 702-928-CONE.
This station is conducting a weekly test of the Southern Nevada, Inyo County, California Operational Area Emergency Alert System. This is only a test.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us on a Friday. Coming up, by the way, in hour number 2, we'll cover the Don Jr. stuff on The View. It was unbelievable. And then the Hollywood conservative himself, Hollywood producer and Trump supporter, Mr. X, will be joining us as well. So stay tuned for that. So we've talked a lot about sex scandals in politics, starting all the way back, of course. Well, it goes before Bill Clinton, but since I've been alive anyway, the Bill Clinton scandal would eventually got him impeached. And now we had this story recently, a few weeks back, about Katie Hill, and I actually feel sorry for her. She's a liberal Democrat in California who, I guess, had a pretty bad marriage, from what I understand. Both parties are at least agreeing on that. And a topless picture surfaced of her. She's not breaking the law. She's not doing anything wrong. She's not even having sex on camera. I can tell you many of people that have turned into celebrities because of that, the Kim Kardashians, the Paris Hiltons of the world. But she's a politician, and certainly if you're a politician, you want to conduct yourself appropriately, and you should probably make sure that there's no videos or pictures or any of that stuff being out there. But this was a very embarrassing situation for Katie Hill. Eventually, she had to resign because of it. And by the way, I didn't agree with that. It's absurd. God forbid if Republicans see a woman with her shirt off, it's World War II. I didn't see it being that big of a deal. So anyway, Katie Hill resigns. And we've heard about this story involving Jim Jordan, who I think is a complete clown, by the way, a partisan hack. So have you heard this story, coming out of Ohio State? That this doctor over there at Ohio State performs sex acts in the shower with boys. I mean, it reminds me of, Penn State, Jerry Sandusky all over again to an extent. And we already had one person come out saying that at the time that Jim Jordan was an assistant coach on this team and that a young man came to him and said, hey, this is what's happening to me by this doctor. Can you please do something about it? And that Jordan kind of pushed it underneath the rug. Well, now we have a professional referee that filed a lawsuit yesterday in regards to the disgraced Dr. Richard Strauss, saying that Strauss masturbated in front of him in the shower after a wrestling match at Ohio State University, and he reported the encounter directly to Jim Jordan, who was then the assistant coach. And keep in mind, Jim Jordan is a major Trump supporter, one of these anti-impeachment guys who has made some appearances, one of which recently on CNN with Jake Tapper, made himself look like a complete idiot. He is a partisan hack, like I said. And again, we have this guy, John Doe, who 42, and now he's the second person that said he told Jordan directly about either being approached or molested by Strauss, who was found by independent investigators to have sexually abused at least 177 students over 2 decades. Disgusting. Changing these young men's lives for the rest of their life. And he also said that when he informed Jordan and Hellickson about what happened, their response was, quote, yeah, we know. It was common knowledge what Strauss was doing, so the attitude was, it is what it is, he told NBC News. I wish Jim and Russ, too, would stand up and do the right thing and admit they knew what Strauss was doing, because everybody knew what he was doing to the wrestlers. What was a shock to me is that Strauss tried to do that to me. He was breaking new ground by going after a ref. Former Ohio State wrestler Dushaya Yetz was the first person to say he spoke to Jordan directly about Strauss, and he previously described how he went to see Strauss for a thumb injury, and when the doctor tried to pull down his pants, he stormed out and complained to Jordan and Hellickson. He went on to say it's good that people are starting to come forward and say the truth, which is that Jordan and the other coaches knew what was going on, and they completely blew it off. The lawsuit filed by 43 survivors against Ohio State. Now, why would these people lie? Why would they lie and say that Jordan knew? You're telling me that this horrific, disgusting human being molested at least 177 people. Coach didn't know about it. And now we have these former athletes that are saying they spoke to Jordan about it, and Jordan did nothing. So my question to all of you is, to our listeners and to JD and to anyone who wants to call in, why is it that somebody like Katie Hill, who is seen in a picture topless, is forced to resign, but yet Jordan, no Republicans are coming forward and saying, well, Jim Jordan, you need to resign. No. I'm sorry, but this is completely credible here. This is not people that are making stuff up, folks. There have been independent investigations. This disgusting human being, and I'm talking about the child molester, they've said at least 177 athletes were at one point molested. Yes. But Jim Jordan, who was a coach there at the time, obviously knew what was going on. And according to at least several of these kids at the time that were molested, they went to Jordan, and the response was, yeah, we know. Jim Jordan, you are a disgrace. And this has nothing to do with your policies. This has nothing. And by the way, Danny Tarkanian was in the other day. Danny Tarkanian was asked by Michael Avenatti, who would you like to see as a nominee for a Republican for president if it wasn't Donald Trump? He said Jim Jordan. See, this is my problem with these people out there that, they want to go after, politicians on the left. And maybe sometimes they're in the right for doing that. But when it comes to this sort of stuff with Jim Jordan, Bill Clinton gets oral sex in the office, and yes, in the Oval Office, and yes, he lied about it. So he deserved to be impeached.
Again, the key is in the office. The same with Katie Hill. Those pictures that came about of her topless, and then she wasn't just topless. She had an Iron Cross tattoo close to her in her thigh area.
So
she was holding a bong, but she was in office when those pictures were taken. Jim Jordan was not in office when this happened.
So
he was an assistant coach. I'm not
Then
saying.
Why are you saying that?
I'm just saying that's why Katie Hill was asked to resign, because it took place while she was in office. None of this took place with Jim Jordan. Assuming that it's true, we don't know that it is, but assuming that it's true.
Pretty sure it is.
Okay, fine. You can be pretty sure of all you want to, but assuming that it's true, it didn't take place when he was a.
So your position, we understand that.
Okay,
Nobody's debating that.
My next question is why.
Hold on a second.
Why is a wrestler talking to an assistant football coach and not his own coach?
What do you mean? Why is he? Because he was a part of the team.
He was a wrestler.
And don't you think that
Jim Jordan was the football coach? He wasn't the wrestling coach.
So you don't think that it is appropriate?
I don't know why he wasn't talking to his wrestling.
How do you
coach.
know he didn't?
I just don't understand why he would talk to the assistant football coach if he was a wrestler.
How do you know that he didn't?
I'm trying to make the connection of why would a wrestler talk to an assistant football coach, which Jim Jordan was for the Ohio State University, correct?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know how that really makes any sense to me.
Jordan was an assistant coach at the time.
Right.
And
for the football team.
We don't know.
Not for the wrestling team.
We don't know exactly the relationship these young men had with Jordan.
Okay, and why is this information coming out right now?
Because I just said it. There was just a lawsuit filed yesterday.
Okay.
So this is private stuff.
It just seems very coincidental considering the fact that Jordan is actively involved in the anti-impeachment situation.
So you think that the reason why these wrestlers are coming forward who are molested is political?
I'm not saying that at all. But I don't understand.
Sounds like that's what you're saying.
I don't understand. Well, there's definitely a coincidence as to why the lawsuit was filed with Jordan involved, considering how actively involved he is with the impeachment inquiry, right? But again, I just don't understand why a wrestler would talk to an assistant football coach. And had this took place while he was in Congress, I'm sure he will be asked to resign, assuming it was true. But Katie Hill, those pictures surfaced when she was in office. And she did have an Iron Cross, and she did have a bong at the same time. And, yeah, she had a poor relationship with her husband, and he definitely got in a revenge porn type of situation.
All right, so let me be clear on this, first of all. I don't care. Hold on, let me finish. I don't care whether it happened 20 or 30 years ago. If children are being molested and you did nothing about it and didn't step up to the plate and tell somebody, you should have no bearing of representing anybody, and you shouldn't be in office. That's number one. Hold on, I'm not done yet. Number two, you just talked about specific stuff in regards to a woman with a picture that is topless, and you don't approve of the tattoo she has. Hold on.
The tattoo has nothing to do with anything.
Okay. You brought it up, not me.
It's being talked about. Well, it's a Nazi era tattoo.
Okay. Well, there's no proof to suggest that she's ever done anything.
Exactly. It's an Iron Cross
to somebody of the Jewish
Iron Cross
faith.
Nazi era tattoo.
There is no proof to suggest
the point is she was in office when those pictures. Just like we had.
So let me finish.
We had Mark Sanford on yesterday, right? And Mark Sanford, when he was in office, he just disappeared for a week, and he explained himself yesterday. And we had a conversation about how Donald Trump did all these terrible things to his wife and to women prior to him being in office. The fact that you are in, and just Bill Clinton received oral sex from an intern while he was in office. That is the common denominator here.
Okay,
when
well, here's where we disagree.
Like that, while you're in office, that's why you're going to be subject to elimination.
Okay, here's where we disagree.
Resignation.
Just because you don't do it while you're in office doesn't mean that you are cleared and you can't be kicked out of office. Let's be very clear on that. Number one, that's your opinion. I disagree with you. Okay? Now, Jordan was the assistant wrestling coach. He was not the football coach.
Oh, he was a wrestling coach.
That is not true. So, the fact that the complaint came from the ref and a student is very, very key and important information. Let me repeat that. Jordan was not the football coach. He was the assistant wrestling coach while all this stuff was happening to his kids. And an independent investigation showed at least 177 of them were molested by this scumbag. So with that being put into place, yes, I absolutely think that Jordan knew exactly what was going on. And I bet you there were more than just a few kids that went up to him. He is a disgrace. And if you want to compare a woman with her top off with a tattoo that you don't like as compared to a guy that's in office right now who is the assistant wrestling coach when at least 177 kids were molested. Some of those kids were learning in testimony, went up to him, and he did nothing about it. They do not compare, in my opinion.
Who also happens to be speirheading the Trump side
Nothing
of the
to do with
impeachment
it.
inquiry.
Forget about the impeachment. Let's talk about the facts.
We wouldn't be talking about this unless if
completely
the
disagree.
Wasn't taking
if this
place.
was a Democrat, I'd be talking about as well. And I say throw his ass out of office. So I completely disagree with you on that. We are talking about a naked picture of a woman.
I do agree. If he was the wrestling coach, the assistant wrestling coach at the time, then obviously he was aware of what went down.
Of course he was.
And hopefully this is not true. But if
no reason to believe it's not.
Okay, fine. But if it is true, it's a giant black eye on him and his reputation.
Well,
absolutely.
Well, I mean, it already is.
And it's hard to argue that.
It already is. And the point I'm trying to make, again, is that you could dislike Katie Hill because you're a Republican, whatever. She had a topless picture out there, and maybe she had a tattoo that some people don't like. To me, that does not compare to an assistant wrestling coach at the time, at least 177 of his kids being sexually molested. Some of those kids going up to him complaining about it and him not acting on it. The two do not compare. We'll take your phone calls. 257-5396. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Keep in mind, these complaints that just came out from a referee and a student at the time. 702-257-5396. My personal opinion, the Katie Hill situation and this Jim Jordan sex scandal situation, the two do not compare. I think Jim Jordan should get the hell out of office because he's a scumbag, just like Donald Trump. 257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to JD. JD, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Good morning. I was just going through a New York Times article of May of 2019 where an extensive quoting New York Times investigation cleared Jim Jordan of these allegations. I have counted. Now, these kids are in college, right? Ohio State?
Mm-hmm.
You have referred to them as kids.
They were kids at the time.
7 or 8 times. They're either 18, 19, 20, and 21 years old.
So what?
They are not kids. They are adults.
Okay, so because they're adults, that makes it okay? What's your point?
No, but you're referring to them as kids.
I consider a 17 or 18-year-old as a kid, not a full-on adult. Yes, I do.
Well, they're
What's your point?
To 21
okay, fine.
To 22.
Okay, fine. They're all adults. What's your point? You think because of that Jim Jordan shouldn't be out of office? What's your point, JD?
There has been an investigation reported by the New York Times that he has been cleared. And now I don't know. You're using a whistleblower. I guess,
not a whistle. No, not true. No, this is. I know.
Out of the closet.
No, I know you want to. No, he didn't. First of all,
rehashing.
Not true. Number one, he did not come out of the closet. Number two, I know you like to keep referring to it as a whistleblower because many of you Republicans that say that Donald Trump. Excuse me,
Jordan is involved, very high profile in the investigation of the.
So you don't think so?
That is
so let me ask you a question.
Reason.
Listen, I know that you've never said anything negative about a Republican on this show,
and
I know that you've.
Have.
Oh, sure
you
do.
Have.
Yeah, sure you do.
He definitely
when
has.
was the last time?
Republicans have to resign as soon as there's any hint of impropriety.
Okay.
They did not
let me ask you a question.
With Congresswoman Hill, that came from Pelosi.
When was the last time you've criticized Donald Trump for anything?
I had a conversation just the other day. I'm
on this show. On this
I'm
show.
critical of the fact that he fired General Mathis. And I'm critical of the fact that he fired Kelly, or they quit. Now, this
Nothing
HR
with the impeachment inquiry. No criticism there.
Come on, he hasn't been on the show since then, Brian. You can't just pick and choose.
Do you think
he just
that,
said he was critical? Let him be critical.
I haven't heard him say that.
Don't choose a different subject that you haven't asked him about.
Have you ever?
He hasn't called in about yet, and say that he's biased because he hasn't criticized that.
On this show, I have never heard him criticize.
Don't cherry pick information.
I'm not cherry picking.
Well,
yes,
you
are.
have a very short memory, Brian.
Really?
There were times
Really?
months ago when I agreed with you on small points of Trump's tweets.
Okay.
You have a selective memory.
Okay, so speaking of selective, hold on. Let me just interject.
It's a narrative-based memory.
Okay, let me interject.
JD.
Okay, not true. Let me just interject here. You're talking about being cleared of investigations. You've brought up Hillary Clinton and the email scandal a gazillion times. Guess what? She was cleared. Let's talk about Benghazi. When there were 9 investigations by Republicans into Benghazi, cleared. But you have brought up the Benghazi stuff a gazillion times. So don't you give me this crap about, well, Jim Jordan was cleared, so he has to be 100% innocent, when people like you want to talk about the Clintons and you want to talk about the Bidens, by the way. And guess what? Biden and his son were cleared. So if you want to come
Brian,
no, I don't want to hear it. If you want to talk about being cleared of an investigation, then how about this, JD? Be consistent on both sides of the aisle. If not, you have zero credibility. 257-5396 is the number to call. Don't you know me. Let's go to Bill. Bill, you're next on the Vegas Take. What do you think about this?
What's up, Bill?
How are we doing today?
Good, Bill.
Doing
What
great.
do you think about this?
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, she didn't resign because of the naked picture. I think it was because she actually resigned because she was having an affair with a intern and she got caught.
Correct. She did, Bill, but the trickle effect started with the picture.
You're not allowed, and when you're in office, you're not allowed to do that, even if it's consensual.
I agree, but the problem started, it was a trickle-down effect, a domino effect. When the picture was released by what we believe to be her ex-husband, that was a trickle-down effect, and all this information came out. Listen, I don't condone that. I don't condone her having a relationship with an intern. I think it is certainly inappropriate. Sadly, I think there are a lot of politicians that have relationships with their interns that we never find out about it. The point I'm trying to make is the reason why we found out about it was because of that picture that was released, because it was a trickle-down effect.
Correct, but to say that she got slammed because of the picture, I think that's literally only the tip of the iceberg.
Okay, but let me correct you on something, though, because this is very, very important. It was not an intern. It was a staffer, and she quit because she was hounded by the Republicans. So let's be very clear on this. She wasn't forced to resign. This wasn't an 18 or 19-year-old man intern that was, on her staff. This was an actual staffer. She did not quit because of that situation. What I'm trying to tell you is that was certainly a part of it. I agree with you. But this was a domino trickle-down effect.
Well, and do we know that her husband didn't find out about the affair with the staffer, and that is why he released the pictures?
I have no idea.
In a revenge type of fashion?
If you're going to sit there and say, like you said, you got to play by the rules, play by the rules. And even though you're going to say, that the picture is first, I mean, sure, that probably had something to do with it. But given the political climate, you got to know that, there's just too many things out there. And if you have a skeleton in your closet, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat.
I don't disagree with you. But the reason why I bring up Jim Jordan, I find this to be far more serious than anything that Katie Hill did, and Republicans keep silent on this. That's my problem. You understand what I'm saying? But you seem like a smart guy, right? Both sides of the aisle need to be consistent.
For someone to be silent on it, like you said, that's stupid. I think they,
right?
'cause, I mean, for them to say anything about it is whether you say that he's cleared or not cleared. Until he's in front of a judge and a jury and all the facts are out, I don't think anybody should say it. I don't care what side of the political party you're on. I mean, I was on a jury. I was on jury duty, and they had this guy convicted, tried, everything else, and he had on the dates that were, and this was a sex case. It was a criminal federal sex case. I'm not going to tell you where it was, but it's a criminal federal sex case. I was on the jury.
No, Bill, I believe you. I'd love to hear more of that story. Unfortunately, I'm up against a hard break, and I got to take one more call, but I do appreciate the phone call. I think we both agree more than we disagree. Let's go to Mike. Mike, you're next on the Vegas Take. What do you say about all this?
Good morning, Brian. Good morning, JD. Well,
What's up, Mike?
If proven true,
It's terrible. It's terrible, and Jim Jordan will be toast. But I want to see everything out in the open for once. I don't want to see any crap hidden. And the difference between Kate and Jim is Kate smeared Kavanaugh with all kinds of crap and phony lies. Now those women are coming out saying they were paid off. And that's the difference, in my opinion.
All right, well, Jim Jordan has smeared many Democrats before. He's smeared many, many people. He's done very similar things just on different subjects. And now here is the man who was the assistant wrestling coach as 177 people were molested, and several people have now come forward, several people now, as we've just learned yesterday, saying that Jordan was told about what happened and he threw it under the rug. I don't know much more proof you need than that. We're not going to have the actual audio. We're not going to have like a transcript of it, but I certainly believe it happened. I think that's enough to get this guy the hell out of office.
I don't think so, Brian, because it's hearsay, and I am absolutely up to here with hearsay. I'm done.
It's not hearsay, but it's not hearsay. It's not.
I want to see some solid proof.
Okay, but there was an independent investigation that found 177 of these people were molested, and several of those people that were allegedly molested went up to Jim Jordan and told him about what was going on. I think you have to be very naive to think that if all those kids at the time were molested, that Jim Jordan had no idea what was going on. You have to be a little bit complicit.
And then, what's he supposed? Is he supposed to have a conversation with the AD at Ohio State?
He's supposed to tell the AD and the authorities and the president of the university.
And you don't know that he didn't do that.
There is no evidence to support the fact that he did. In fact, Jim Jordan is if you look at his quotes, hold on, I'm answering a question. If you looked at his quotes, Jim Jordan says he knew nothing about what was going on. He's denying that he knew anything. And I appreciate the call, Mike, but I mean, JD, you said it yourself 10 minutes ago. 177 molested. You're telling me the assistant wrestling coach didn't hear anything? Didn't know anything? I mean, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm hoping that what he's saying is true. I'm hoping that he's not.
That's not what I'm asking you.
Guilty of this.
177 people.
I understand.
You're telling me he had no idea. Didn't hear anything.
You're creating the math behind this. I understand. I'm hoping that he didn't know, but assuming that what this guy is saying is true, what this student is saying is true, what this athlete is saying is true, this adult athlete who happens to be in college is saying is true, he probably knew.
All right, well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Don Jr., his appearance on The View. We'll also get the news from John Schaefer coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Take.
You got a minute? I need your help. You see, 1 out of 6 vehicles have been recalled because of dangerous Takata airbags. One of them could be yours. Defective airbag parts can explode, causing serious injury, even death. Go to safeairbags.com and see if your vehicle is on the recall list. And if it is, get it fixed for free. It could save your life.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. The world is changing. Isn't it time smoking changed too? Vuse Alto is a vapor product offering you a satisfying alternative to cigarettes. Simple to use, surprisingly quiet, and impressively powerful. Our best vapor yet at our best price ever. 99 cents plus tax at participating retailers. 99-cent offer applies to Alto device. Pods sold separately. Underage sale prohibited.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
Hi, this is Sabrina Chapman inviting you to join me every Sunday from noon to 12:30 p.m. for my new show, Mommies, Meetings, and Mimosas. We'll be interviewing the leading Las Vegas ladies that are handling business and motherhood like a boss. Only on 101.5 FM, 720 KDON.
Tina Trenner is back, and she's on 720 AM, 101.5 FM, KDWN every Sunday at 12:30 p.m. She's sick of the nonsense and has something to say every Sunday at 12:30 p.m.
Imagine crossing a street busy with traffic. Against the light.
Watch where you're going!
Wearing a blindfold. Would you do this? Probably not. It's one risk obviously not worth taking. Some risks aren't as obvious, yet could be just as deadly, like the risk for type 2 diabetes. If you're overweight or over 45, if you're not very active, or don't eat as healthy as you should, there's an easy test you can take to find out your risk. It's free, and in less than a minute, you'll know if you're at risk for this deadly disease. Just go to diabetes.org/take-the-test or call 1-800-DIABETES. Because type 2 diabetes is one risk you can't afford to take. Take the diabetes risk test and stop diabetes before it stops you. A message from the American Diabetes Association.
The only FM news talk station in the Valley. 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Going after lawyer. New transcripts out. I'm Mike Moss.
All that matters is one thing, the transcript. And the transcript is perfect.
President Trump says nothing that's been revealed in the impeachment inquiry has been damaging to him. But today he again went after the lawyer for the whistleblower.
The lawyer's the bad guy. So you look at that, I thought that was the end of it. No, this is just a continuation of the hoax. It's a disgraceful thing.
More from White House correspondent Joe John.
The president continued his attacks on the intelligence community whistleblower, calling him or her a disgrace, saying that person ought to be revealed, and says his lawyer ought to be sued. Interesting, his lawyer, Andrew Bakash, did put out a letter just yesterday indicating that the president ought to cease and desist in his attacks on the whistleblower because he was creating an atmosphere of intimidation.
The transcript from the interview with Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman is linking acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney to the demand that Ukraine investigate the Bidens in order to get withheld military aid. Today, Mulvaney refused to come even though he was subpoenaed to appear before the impeachment inquiry. A new lawsuit claims Representative Jim Jordan was aware of sexual abuse allegations at Ohio State University when he was then an assistant coach.
The lawsuit filed by a referee identified only as John Doe 42 says he told Jim Jordan directly about the misconduct by disgraced Dr. Richard Strauss. John Doe 42 is the second person to say they directly told Jordan about Strauss's actions. In addition, several former Ohio State students have accused Jordan of knowing about the abuse, something Jordan, now a Republican congressman, has vehemently denied. An independent investigation found Strauss sexually abused 177 male students. Lindy Kenyon, Washington.
The Dow is down 32 points. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by Dispatch Health. Slowing for the crash on the 215 Northern Beltway eastbound at Pecos at the exit ramp, and an accident on the 215 Western Beltway southbound at Summerlin Parkway. This is also going to be on the transition ramp to Summerlin Parkway affecting eastbound. A crash injury sustained on St. Rose Parkway at I-15 in the Lower Valley. When you're sick, every minute counts. Go to dispatchhealth.com, where high-quality medical care comes to you. Visit dispatchhealth.com to learn about medical professionals that make house calls. Dispatch Health, covered by most insurance. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
For more than a year, the whole of Vermont was captivated by the hunt for a runaway golden retriever. Read Catching Murphy, the latest book from the Associated Press, available now exclusively at Amazon.com.
Are you interested in owning rental properties right here in the Las Vegas area? Auction.com, the nation's leading real estate auctioneer, must sell 102 rental properties in the Las Vegas and Henderson markets. These are turnkey, income-producing single-family homes and condos with tenants and leases in place. That's right, the tenants are in place and currently paying rent on over 100 homes to be auctioned individually at auction.com/radio. Financing is available and a broker co-op is being offered for this one-time unprecedented online auction to be held November 11 through 13. Add more rentals to your portfolio, diversify your investments to add real estate, or buy your very first real estate investment. This is an auction that can't be missed. View all homes and auction details at auction.com/radio. That's www.auction.com/radio. Auction is subject to a reserve.
If you need to sell your house,
talk to Aaron Taylor.
You want to sell it fast and get the most cash, talk to Aaron Taylor.
The real
estate guy.
Do you have an ugly or distressed property? Or maybe you just don't want people trampling through your home? I will buy your house, giving you cash in 5 days, a cash advance within 24 hours, and always giving clients top dollar. And for you traditional sellers, I know exactly what you want. You want the most money possible for your house. You want a real estate agent that answers their phone. And you want honesty and communication along the entire process. Folks, my name is Aaron Taylor, the real estate guy. We have helped thousands of people just like you for over 24 years. I am grateful and committed to being the #1 real estate professional in the state of Nevada. Go to therealestateguyLV.com and see our amazing reviews. 702-310-6683. That's 702-310-MOVE. 702-310-6683. Powered by eXp Realty. Call for details.
Talk to Aaron Taylor,
The real estate guy.
Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally, so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702-570-2240.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Hill with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Children love to play, but did you know play is important for healthy brain development? Play helps children learn language, math, and social skills, and lowers stress. This is good for kids and their parents. The next time your child wants to play with you, say yes. It's one of the best parts of being a parent. For more information on child development, visit healthychildren.org or talk with your pediatrician.
720 on the AM, 1015 FM.
Yeah, now on FM.
The only FM news talk station in Las Vegas. KDON. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Rolling out hour number 2. Sharp and Shapiro, glad you could join us on a Friday. We're going to get to this mess with Don Jr. making an appearance on The View yesterday. There were some angry cats there that were not big Don Jr. fans. We'll get to that coming up in a few minutes here. But joining us in studio, as he always does every day, with the news, delivering it to us every day, it is John Schaefer. John, what's going on?
Well, O.J. Simpson suing the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. He alleges employees of the resort defamed him when they told TMZ he was kicked out of the resort for being drunk and belligerent in November 2017. Shortly after that, the Cosmopolitan released a statement saying those reports were inaccurate, but it had no comment on the current lawsuit.
Sorry, I'm just saying. So, we play a lot of OJ audio every day because he's on Twitter and he's very active on there. So I remember this story came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that TMZ is a part of this lawsuit because we have Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports, who probably did the story a couple of years ago. So he's going to be joining us in hour number 3.
Sweet.
To kind of give us an update on this. Yep.
Boulder City Police Department said 11 people were arrested in a meth trafficking sting involving several members of the Las Vegas chapter of the Brotherhood Motorcycle Club. It's the second major meth bust in the city in the last week. Warrants were issued at 2 homes in Boulder City and 1 in Henderson.
Wait, so people that get on motorcycles, some of them do meth? That's shocking to me.
No, they distribute meth.
Oh, they distribute.
Right. Yes, yes.
Oh.
They peddle meth, and it sounds like Sons of Anarchy Vegas style.
Yeah.
Peddling meth. Wow, it sounds like a great occupation. Go ahead, John.
The Russian-themed vodka bar and restaurant Red Square inside Mandalay Bay is closing next week after 20 years in operation. It was one of the resort's premier attractions when it opened back in 1999. The bar features infused vodkas, an ice-topped bar, and a vodka vault. Also a headless statue of Lennon on the outside. No word on what's taking its place.
A headless statue of John Lennon?
Yes.
Why would you have that?
What was it?
No,
was
it John Lennon?
Vladimir Lennon.
I know. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, the elusive black cat from Monday Night Football still on the run. MetLife Stadium officials said yesterday the search for the fleet feline that briefly delayed the nationally televised game between the Giants and Cowboys Monday night has been unsuccessful. The search started Tuesday morning with multiple humane traps being stationed in the stadium. After that came up empty, they asked Puppy Kitty New York City, a trap, neuter, release, and no-kill shelter for help. They said in a statement that if the cat is caught, it will be assigned a home or relocation. The cat scampered off the field during a Giants drive in the second quarter, forced a referee to delay the game for about 5 minutes on Monday night.
Wait a second. You mean they're not going to fine that cat up to $1,000 and send that cat to jail for up to 6 months?
No, and we don't know if it's homeless. It might be home again.
Apparently, they treat cats over there better than they treat the homeless people in Las Vegas.
I mean, we've all seen Oliver and Company. They obviously treat cats very well.
So if I wanted to get that cat's autograph, because let's be honest, that cat is a celebrity now.
It is.
Just like kind of like fingerprinting, like cat fingerprinting. Like, how would I get that cat's autograph? How would that work?
I would just grab any black cat and tell people it's that cat since they can't find it, and then worry about the consequences later.
I think that this is a controversy, and I want you to monitor this all day, and I want to find out where that cat is. And I believe what we're seeing here is somebody, an owner of that cat, actually probably took the cat, and I think that was staged.
Yeah, it probably ran out of the stadium Monday night after the whole incident, and they can search all they want.
Catgate.
Oh, absolutely.
Black Catgate.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend, my friend.
You too.
Good
Thanks,
luck,
John.
Good luck to Penn State.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
I will say this: I am taking Minnesota on Saturday with the points. Buying it up to 7.
Okay, we will get to that.
We better get to that.
We will get
We
to
need to
breaking
talk
down
about
some
that.
of the college
Good.
football games.
Thank you. I'm happy.
All right, John. Have a good weekend. Appreciate it as
Thanks a lot,
always.
John.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Donald Trump Jr. making an appearance on The View. We knew it would get a little testy, but it got really testy. And you're not going to believe what Trump Jr. said about visiting the Arlington National Cemetery. It speaks volumes of Trump Jr.'s character. I'll explain what that means when we come back. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
Psst, Bob, quick, the neighbors. There they go again. Jeez, it's like clockwork. Every weekend, he grabs his clubs, she grabs a duffel, and they're gone for the night. And when they come back, they look so relaxed and happy. Where do you think they go?
Well, they're not rich, so it must be affordable. Maybe some kind of marriage retreat?
Oh, right, with golf clubs. And she looks so refreshed.
We could use some of whatever it is. Go ask them when they get back.
Well, they're back, and you won't believe it.
Surprise me.
They've been going to Casablanca Resort in Mesquite on that $99 room and golf getaway. Sometimes they go for the $99 room and spa getaway. They love it.
Hey, we could afford $99, and it's only a little more than an hour's drive. Let's treat ourselves.
Book your $99 room and golf or spa getaway today at mesquitegaming.com or call 877-GETAWAY. Casablanca Resort in Mesquite, just like Vegas used to be. Must be 21 years or older.
Parents, you always say you want what's best for your children. If that's the case, then you should be bringing your kid to Infinity, the Math Institute, where every student earns an A or B in math. Our results are proven and they are amazing. The best tutoring service for the best price, whether online or in person, small group or one-on-one. You cannot get better results. Great grades will come when your child truly understands the math. From elementary math to calculus, we have the best tutors, the best materials, and the best results. Now offering free parent seminars on how to better help your child, what is Common Core, and more. Find out why parents are bragging and students are enjoying school again by calling 702-768-1777. That's 702-768-1777 or visit themathinstitute.com today. Tell them the Vegas Take sent you, because at Infinity, you don't get more math problems, you get solutions.
Hi, Doug Basham here. Join me Saturday afternoons from 2 to 4, and I'll tell you what your conservative, corporate-controlled, right-wing propaganda hate media isn't. You're welcome. That's Saturday afternoons, 2 to 4. Be there.
This is Lorraine Hunt Bono, inviting you to tune in for Breaking Bread with Bono. Join my husband, Dennis Bono, as celebrities share with him their intimate and humorous stories. Saturdays, 5 to 6 p.m., right here on KDAWN.
Consider making a really positive, lasting impact in the life of a child. I'm Molly Lathan for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Southern Nevada. Our goal is to put together long-term friendships. Many people don't know that it only takes 4 to 6 hours a month. Be a role model, a support, be a wise adult sounding board, and basically just be their friend. Please visit our website at bbbsn.org and click on volunteer.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
All right, welcome back. The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Rolling in on a Friday. Glad you could join us. Also streaming live on the Vegas Take YouTube page, as always. And wanted to talk a little bit about our very good friend Biff, also known as Donald Trump Jr. So
yes. Let's talk about him, Brian. I'm ready.
He made this appearance on The View. But before I get to that, I want to read a quote that Donald Trump made about his visit to Arlington National Cemetery, where so many of our fallen heroes are laid to rest. This is a quote about visiting Arlington National Cemetery. This is absolute verbatim. Quote, "As we drove past the rows of white grave markers, I also thought of all the attacks we'd already suffered as a family and about all the sacrifices we'd have to make to help my father succeed." Are you effing kidding me? He is comparing death, heroes that have risked their lives and lost their lives at Arlington National Cemetery, to making media appearances and tweeting.
Yes, to Twitter wars.
That is what Donald Trump Jr. is doing. First of all, he's a moron.
He actually did just do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is, number one, he is a moron. And number two, his own father is the one that did not serve, claimed he had bone spurs. We all know that was a lie. But explain this to me. I want anybody, and I mean anybody, I don't care how far to the right you are, I don't care how big of a Trump supporter you are, anybody on the right, please defend that quote. I'm going to read it one more time because I think it's very important. I've said it all along that this guy, Donald Trump, I don't talk about Eric Trump very much, but Don Jr. is more active on social media, and Don Jr. says dumb things like his father does on a regular basis. In regards to his Arlington National Cemetery visit, as we drove past the rows of white grave markers, I also thought of all the attacks we'd already suffered as a family and about all the sacrifices we'd have to make to help my father succeed. What is he talking about? The campaign rally? First of all, to any normal human being, I don't care. Hold on. I don't care if you're on the right or the left. To any normal, decent human being, you drive past Arlington National Cemetery, at least for me, the first thing that I would think about, I'd be very emotional, and I would think about all those heroes, all those great people that risk their lives every day, the ones that are still with us, and those that have lost their lives. And I would feel a great honor just to be there, to salute these fallen soldiers. I wouldn't think about any personal sacrifices that I've made in my life. In fact, that's the last thing that I would think about would be me. The first thing Donald Trump Jr. thought about when he was at Arlington National Cemetery was about him. Make no mistake about it. That's what this quote is all about. And if you don't believe me, it's in Business Insider, an interview he did with Business Insider. The first thing Don Jr. thinks about is himself. And by the way, I recall an interview that Donald Trump Jr. did with Laura Ingraham a few feet away from these graves. He wasn't talking about the soldiers. He was also talking about himself and the Democrats and how they're attacking him on a regular basis. Really, I asked this question. What kind of person are you? What kind of human being are you? I'm sure Don Jr. isn't the first person to but certainly I haven't seen anyone publicly talk like that. Visiting Arlington National Cemetery, one of the holiest of holy places of fallen heroes that have lost their lives for our freedoms. And the first thing that Don Jr. thinks about is the actual sacrifices he had to make for his father to succeed. Make no mistake about it, Don Jr. has done nothing in his life. He's made no real sacrifices in his life. Him and, I guess you could call it a sacrifice, hanging out with Kimberly Guilfoyle. That would be a sacrifice, But, I mean, other than that, what sacrifices has Don Jr. made in his life? Seriously, this is disgusting, and nobody can defend it. So Don Jr. made his appearance on The View with Guilfoyle yesterday, and he was asked why he wanted to release the name of the whistleblower. And here's his response to that right here.
The whistleblower's name was on a little website called The Drudge Report a couple of days ago. It was in Real Clear Politics. I literally quote tweeted an article that had the guy's name in the title of the article. So that whole thing is nonsense. But I wish the outrage would be equal. I mean, there was no outrage when, my family got an exploding letter of, with white powder substance in it. They're protecting a guy, in the CIA, and there's great outrage. But when your family gets something, it's there. And that's a big part of the book, which is it's not a level playing field in terms of outrage. We do live in an outrage culture.
Okay, first of all, in regards to white powder, why don't we talk about CNN? Okay, was he outraged when a Donald Trump supporter sent white powder to CNN. First of all, he likes to deflect and he likes to pivot because he can't defend the fact that he is the son of the President of the United States releasing the name of the whistleblower.
I think that's a pretty big deal that his family did receive a letter with poisonous white powder in it, though. You can't discount that,
But
Brian.
it has
That's a pretty big deal.
But it has absolutely zero and nothing to do with the question that was asked. And the question that was asked is, why did you release the name of the whistleblower? And his response says, well, the Drudge Report released it, so I released it. And then he says, well, I'm just a regular everyday citizen. No, you're not. You're the son of the President of the United States, and it is disgraceful. And even Kimberly Guilfoyle, his girlfriend, who was sitting next to him, agreed that it was a very bad decision. So Don Jr. also says that people are upset about outing the whistleblower because he has ties to Joe Biden, but Huntsman disagrees. Here's the cut on that.
Just to be clear, that's not why I'm outraged. I'm outraged because I care about diplomacy in this country. I care about how we protect the people when they see a wrongdoing, that they go through the proper political channels, and they are protected for doing that. So you can say that whatever outlet released it.
Let's not kid ourselves.
And the name has been out there for 5 days.
That doesn't make it right.
But nevertheless,
But Abby, you guys at ABC is right now chasing down a whistleblower about all of the Epstein stuff because those stories were killed. So if we're going to have the conversation about the outrage about whistleblowers, you work with CBS stuff. You work with CBS to out a whistleblower who came up with a story that's kind of shady.
Can we stick to?
No, but you work with them. That broke this morning.
It's amazing to me that when you bring up a subject that somebody does not want to talk about and there's no defense for it, they deflect and they talk about something completely different. Epstein had absolutely nothing to do with the question, but this is what Don Jr. does, and that's why he's sitting there with his girlfriend because he can't defend himself by himself. He also was asked, see, this is my biggest issue with this. We all make mistakes. Don Jr. makes a lot of mistakes. His father makes a lot of mistakes, but we all make mistakes, right? We're all not perfect. So when Don Jr. is just asked for show a little bit of humility and be honest, he's asked if he regrets outing the whistleblower. Here's his response to that.
I don't think I should have to forego my First Amendment rights. I didn't want to create hysteria, but if I'm reading an article, be like, oh, the name's out there. I didn't even realize that this thing's some sort of big sort of secret.
You don't regret doing that?
I don't regret doing it. No, I don't think I should have to forego my First Amendment rights. It's out there. I read it in an article. I've been reading it for a week. I saw it on the Drudge Report. Like, this is not some secret, but to then say, because it's Donald Trump Jr., because he's an outspoken guy, to then create why was there no outrage when Drudge Report, which is a major website, probably the largest aggregator of media news in America, he puts it out there a few days ago, and no, crickets. No problem with that.
Because probably not a lot of people knew that it was out there. But once you put it out,
but millions of people see Drudge a day.
I'm saying to you, listen, man, I don't know how many people here read the Drudge Report. I don't know. But I'm saying a lot more people know your name than know the Drudge Report. You're assuming. I know it's a fair point.
Let's move on.
All right, so there you go. Typical in Don Jr. or Trump fashion, where if they make a mistake or do something wrong, they never apologize for it. That's a playbook from Donald Trump, our president of the United States.
Is that a mistake, though, Brian?
Absolutely, 100%.
He doesn't hold office. Judge Report released the name.
He's the son of the president of the United States, and many Republicans disagree with you.
He didn't dox anybody. He released a name that was already out there.
He's the son.
I don't have an issue with that. I mean, it'd be the same as retweeting something.
No, it's not. He's the son of the president of the United States. He's not an everyday citizen. Everybody knows who Don Jr. is.
But this wasn't private information. This was public.
There is a
It was already on the internet, on a major outlet.
So just because something is public, even though it might be inappropriate, you think it's okay for the son of the president of the United States to retweet it. You're totally okay with it. Well, listen, if somebody writes something about your family, and it wasn't me, and I hope that never happened, but if somebody writes something negative about something personal to you, and it may or may not be true, but it's out there, and then I decide to go on my social media page, and by the way, I'm not the president, but as your friend, I retweet it. Wouldn't you have a problem with me retweeting it? And my defense to you is, well, you know what, JD, hold on, it was already out there, so I just retweeted it, so I didn't do anything wrong. No, you would have a problem with me.
That analogy you just made would assume that Donald Trump Jr. and the whistleblower are friends. And that is not the case, Brian.
It's the same thing,
no,
though.
It's not even remotely close to the same thing.
Just because it's a retweet.
How is Donald Trump Jr. loyal to the whistleblower?
You don't understand the point I'm trying to make.
You have loyalty to me. I have loyalty to you. Under those circumstances, that would be totally different.
Okay, the son has a loyalty to the country. His father is the president of the United States. If you want to talk about loyalty, the Trump family should have loyalty to what is best for the country, not as what's best for their father. And the reason why I bring up Twitter and the reason reason why I bring up retweeting is this reason. Just because you didn't put it out there, but you retweeted it, doesn't mean it's fair game, and it doesn't mean it's right. If you want to talk about loyalty, how about all the constituents? How about everybody, Republicans and Democrats?
And again, Brian, I would have a large issue if he got if it was a private information, it was not public. He had it in the government that happened to the whistleblower, and he released it. But since it was already on a public platform, I have no problem, and he has every single right to retweet or post a link to another site that already released the information.
To me,
whether or not he's the president's son or not,
we're not talking
there's
about.
There's nothing wrong with that, Brian.
We're not talking about legalities. I completely disagree with you when you say there's nothing wrong with it. There is something wrong with that. It's beyond inappropriate for the son of the President of the United States to do that.
It is not inappropriate at all, Brian.
So
because, again, it is public knowledge already. It is on a public platform already. And the Drudge Report gets like 30 million visitors a day.
First of all,
Donald Trump Jr. has 4 million Twitter followers. Whether people know who he is or not, he only has 4 million following him.
First of all, it is inappropriate, and there are a reason why there are laws and rules put in place to protect
There's
the whistleblower.
absolutely no law put in. If that's the case, then Drudge Report should get sued for $200 million for releasing the name in the first place. And if that happens, and Donald Trump is complicit in that, then fine. But
have you ever heard of?
Again, it's totally different since it was already public knowledge. It was already on a public platform, a large digital platform.
Here's what you don't understand.
And he decided. I understand it entirely, Brian.
Okay, so what's
it's
the law?
It's not a private situation.
So what's the law when it comes to whistleblowers? Do you understand the laws that are put in place?
Okay, if that's the case, then what's going to happen to Drudge Report? What are Drudge Report's consequences?
I'm asking you a question.
For
Do you
their
know what
name?
the laws are when it comes to whistleblowers? Because if we're talking about this, I think you need to know what the law is. Do you know what the law is? Do you know what the Whistleblower Act is?
The Whistleblower Act?
Yes.
What is it, Brian?
The name cannot be released to protect that person's safety.
Okay, so then what's going to happen to Drudge Report for releasing the name?
I don't know what's going to happen to Drudge Report, but what I do know is when this is in place and you are the son of the President of the United States, you have to understand what the laws are.
You're just twisting and spinning. The point is,
I'm not spinning anything.
The only person that should be liable for this is Drudge Report. Donald Trump took something that was already public information on a digital platform and decided to paste or retweet it or
and
whatever.
you're okay with that decision.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
And you're okay with that decision.
I would be much less okay with it if it wasn't public.
I cannot believe you're okay with the decision of the son of the President of the United States retweeting something that could certainly harm who this man or woman is. 257-5396 is the number to call. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Joel. Joel, you're next on the Vegas Take. What do you think about all this?
What's up, Joel?
Well, hi. Fact of the matter is the Whistleblower Act says that you cannot reveal the name of the whistleblower, period. So whether or not Drudge did it first or whether or not Donnie Jr. did it second, it's moot. It's like, okay, you rob a bank and then I go in right after you and I rob the bank. Does that make my robbery less terrible than yours?
That's a good point. I agree. Yeah.
So, and that Donnie knew what was going on. The fact of the matter is Donnie Jr. knew that when he retweeted that, it was going to cause a furor.
Of course he did.
To suggest that he was ignorant of that fact is just being blind.
Well, I would suggest
to make excuses for Don Jr. is incompetent and it's just childish.
Yeah, and I would make the argument he is ignorant, but you're probably right. He was not ignorant to the fact.
I'm not making any excuse. I'm just saying if it was private information that Don Jr. himself unearthed, that would be totally different in my eyes. Yeah. And my biggest problem with that whole interview with The View is the Arlington Cemetery part of it, because it makes it seem like he believes that his family's going to suffer casualties due to the fact that his president is being attacked by the media, et cetera, et cetera. That to me, that's indefensible. But retweeting or copy and pasting something that was released on a massive digital platform, I have no issue with that whatsoever.
Let's take one more call here. Let's go to George. George, what do you think about all this?
What's up, George?
Well, I'm just a little confused. I was just trying to call with like a question / maybe a statement. I mean,
sure.
Mark Levin, I know you guys know, you've had him on there. He's a pretty knowledgeable guy. Basically went line by line, basically breaking down the fact why this guy doesn't even qualify as a whistleblower. And I'm just trying to, and I caught the tail end of it, but I've heard some other people make that statement.
Let me comment on that. That's George. That's very fair. So let's talk about this for a second. First of all, Mark Levin came on our show. We were both very respectful to one another, and I do respect him, even though I disagree with almost everything he does. There's a reason why he gets monster ratings, because he does a good show, and I respect him a great deal. With that being said, I can't remember the last time he ever said anything negative about the Trump family. He always goes after the media, and he goes after the left, never goes after the right. So keep that in mind. That's number one. Number two, when he says the whistleblower isn't immune, That's not necessarily true. Now, he can be cross-examined eventually if they get to that point, but there's a reason why the Whistleblower Act is in place, and I'm sure he didn't talk about the Whistleblower Act because it doesn't fit his narrative. There are reasons why the Whistleblower Act was put into place, not just by Democrats, but also by Republicans. That's very important to note that. And the reason is to protect his identity, to protect him and his family. And make no mistake about it, the only reason why the President of the United States wants this name to be thrown out there is they could throw mud on this guy. Now they're going after his attorney. Whether his attorney is a Democrat or not has absolutely nothing to do with whether he's telling the truth or not. And by the way, even if we do find out who the whistleblower is, it still has no bearing over all the evidence and all the testimony that's already been put into place, George. That's the best way I can put it out there, and I apologize, George. We have to go to break. I appreciate the phone call. It's a very fair question. And by the way, I mean that. I do respect Mark Levin a lot. The only thing that I don't understand is why he doesn't take calls that disagree with him. When was the last time he took somebody that disagreed with him, a caller? We welcome anybody to call into the show, agree or disagree. I appreciate the fact that Mark Levin came on our show, and I would absolutely welcome him to come on again. Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. He is Mr. X, the Hollywood conservative, a Trump supporter in Hollywood. That's right. He's coming up next.
The CDC thinks it has found the source of at least some of the thousands of vaping illnesses and dozens of deaths. It's vitamin E acetate, which is not harmful when applied to the skin or even swallowed, but when heated and inhaled apparently interferes with normal lung function. After complaining that Democrats were conducting impeachment hearings in a basement, the president today objected to the start of public hearings next week.
They shouldn't be having public hearings. This is a hoax. This is just like the Russian witch hunt. This is just a continuation.
Veteran Secretary Robert Wilkie says the VA now will allow vets to use private health care when needed and is putting records in the cloud.
We will prevent people like my father, after 30 years of military service, from carting around an 800-page paper record, and we will have an entire history.
Record ridership for Amtrak, but also losses of about 30 million. The Dow down 40. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by Indeed.com. Slowing for a crash on Summerlin Parkway westbound at the 215 on the southbound transition ramp, and an accident 95 southbound at Cheyenne Avenue. Vehicles remain off to the left. On the surface streets, an accident that was reported at Tropicana westbound at Dean Martin. Still a factor. Watch for slowing in the area. And also a crash with injury sustained reported Sahara at Las Verdes Street. And are you hiring? With Indeed, you can post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified candidates in an online dashboard. Get started at Indeed.com/hire. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Are you responsible for paying your family's health insurance bill every month? Is your health insurance premium costing you nearly as much as your mortgage? Open enrollment is here and more affordable options may be available with the insurance companies of U.S. Health Group. Life happens, and it's important to have the right coverage to protect your family. U.S. Health Group's licensed agents are available by phone or in person to guide you through our flexible choices and options available in your state. Time is limited. Open enrollment ends soon. So call now for more information. Call U.S. Health Group to arrange a free quote and speak with one of our dedicated agents today.
800-519-5582. 800-519-5582. That's 800-519-5582.
Plans are underwritten by Freedom Life Insurance Company of America, Enterprise Life Insurance Company, or National Foundation Life Insurance Company. This coverage is not available in all states, and some exclusions or limitations may apply in your state.
O'Reilly.
This is Jesse's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
As a nurse, not making it to work was not an option. But driving through the snow with my wiper blades struggling, I just didn't feel safe. So I pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts, and before I knew it, an employee was offering to install the wiper blades on my car. I got to stay out of the snow for a moment, and I still made it to work on time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey guys, hear what the kids are saying about Infinity, the Math Institute.
Going to Infinity is a lot different than school because the faculty and staff in Infinity are a lot more one-to-one on you. They don't just care about getting the work done. They're about trying to change your life.
So before I went to Infinity, I had an F. I now have a B+, so it really helped me a lot with math. I like going to school now because it's easier for me. It's like not a struggle.
Infinity is a place where you learn new techniques, not only for math, but for life as well. It's also a great place to meet new people and make a lot of different friends who share the same qualities as you, and you just get a whole new experience.
It's different because if they have like questions or problems, you can talk to someone if you need that help.
Call Infinity, the Math Institute at 702-768-1777. That's 768-1777. Infinity, the Math Institute. Don't get more math problems, get solutions.
If your retirement plan is on set it and forget it, it's time to take control. Tune in Saturday at 4 p.m. for Financial Safari with America's Wealth Coach and best-selling author, Coach Pete D'Arruda. For more than 25 years, Coach Pete has been helping people just like you plan for retirement. Join Coach Pete every week as he discusses topics like why your retirement plan should also be an income plan and how to make sure you're getting the most out of your 401k. Financial Safari with Coach Pete, Saturday afternoons at 4 on KDWN 101.5 FM and 720 AM.
Imagine a time when no one person has Parkinson's disease, is debilitated by a stroke, and no family suffers the tragedy of Alzheimer's. Some of the best minds in America are doing more than imagining. The American Brain Foundation is seeking to find cures, where life without brain disease isn't just something we can imagine, it's something we can know.
Join Kevin Sorbo in the fight to cure brain disease. For more information, visit AmericanBrainFoundation.org.
Every year, tens of thousands of youth experience homelessness.
I didn't know how they were gonna react. I just told my mom that I was gay.
1 in 4 LGBT youth who come out to their parents is told to leave home.
She wanted to go and talk to my dad about this. He started reproaching me, telling me that he didn't raise someone gay. I started going to my grandma's house to sleep over. She kicked me out too.
Runaway and homeless youth are often victims of commercial sexual exploitation.
I was in the drugs and prostitution for 5 years.
1-800-RUNAWAY provides 24-hour access to a nationwide network of housing and support services for homeless and runaway youth.
I just felt so rejected. I felt like a failure.
If you or someone you know needs help, 1-800-RUNAWAY can provide support and connect you to the right resources. You can also text 66008 or go to 1-800-RUNAWAY.org. We can end youth homelessness.
At the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Federal Student Aid, we provide more than $150 billion each year in grants, loans, and work-study funds. Learn more at studentaid.gov.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp Shapiro, so glad you can join us on a Friday. Been a little while since we had this guy on the show. There's a reason why we call him Mr. X. He is known as the Hollywood conservative on this show. The reason why we call him Mr. X, he is a longtime producer out there in Hollywood. You know, works with all the liberals, all the lefties out there, right, in Hollywood. And he happens to be a Trump supporter. But I would never call him a radical person to the right because he's not. I think he's logical. That's why we always have good conversations on this show. But we'd like to hear some of his stories, what he has to deal with out there in Hollywood. Mr. X joining us on the line right now, the Hollywood conservative. Mr. X, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Good, man. Things are heating up coming up to the election. You guys are going to need to start disguising my voice. I want one of these, like, CIA voice disguisers that makes me sound like, hello. Like, yeah.
We'll work on that. I know they do that in a lot of TV interviews where they darken the face and then they, they kind of change the voice a little bit. We'll work on that.
They're starting to lynch suspected Trump supporters in the streets here. It's getting bad.
Well, we don't be careful with that word lynching. You know, you can get in trouble for using that word these days. Hey, I want to ask you about Don Jr. to start because, as you know, he made an appearance on The View yesterday. I just want to read you a Don Jr. quote that I think anybody should have a problem with. This has nothing to do with politics and everything to do, in my opinion, with Don Jr.'s character. This is in regards to his visit to Arlington National Cemetery. This is verbatim. This is an actual quote yesterday from Trump Jr. He says, as we drove past the rows of white grave markers, I also thought of all the attacks we'd already suffered as a family and about all the sacrifices we'd have to make to help my father succeed. End of quote. He's talking about sacrifices of making speeches and making media and TV appearances to people who lost their lives fighting for this country. This might be the dumbest thing, and I think he said a lot of dumb things, but this might be the dumbest thing and the worst thing that Don Jr. has ever said in his life. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty bad and ridiculous take. I mean, clearly, first of all, what the hell did he go on The View for? Like, I'm confused why he ever went on that ridiculously bad show anyway. But my opinion on it is clearly he was sort of prepped to just basically try to turn this into a, like, everybody hates my dad and, like, look at how much pressure we're under and look at how sad we are and everybody's mean to us. Now, with that said, I don't disagree with that aspect of it. The cemetery thing, like, that's a joke. Ridiculous. Absolutely absurd thing to say. Terrible, parallel to be drawn. But, he did make a couple of comments, I thought, which were extremely relevant about how the liberal media and shows like The View and shows like pretty much every show out there right now are 100% focused on Trump's Twitter and things that Trump says and things that he says. And they're completely ignoring anything positive that Trump does,
right,
politically or economically,
okay, well, that's,
or jobs. And it's like, that's a very valid point.
That's a very valid point.
My thing is, like, look at it from this perspective. That's a really dumb thing to say. There's no excuse. But this
I think it's worse than dumb, though. But hold on a second.
But it's his dad, too. Like, that's the thing.
But that's worse than dumb.
His dad is under constant attack.
Okay, so you guys are going to want to talk about The View and how left they are.
No.
Hold on, I'll get to that. I want you guys to talk about that. But I want to stick to what he just said. Okay?
It's ridiculous.
To me, this is not just a dumb thing to say. It's actually what floats through Donald Trump Jr.'s head when he sees people that are 6 feet underneath the ground, okay? This is what he wrote in his book, okay? This is something that was thought out.
Though, man. It's what he's saying on a show. We don't know what he was saying.
No, he said that in it. No, that's not true. He said that in his book. This was thought out. This was not something that was off the cuff. This is something
he said. It's something he said on a talk show. Like that's what it is. Who cares? Like, these guys all say dumb things on every show.
That's not dumb.
Joe Biden says a lot. But no, I do have an issue with this, a real issue. And this is coming from a Trump supporter because he is comparing, death, people who went to war to fight for the country and died to his family being, attacked for tweets that they started. Now, that being said, he went on The View because his father is polling very poorly.
No, because he's trying to sell a book.
No, with female. No, it's all about grabbing the attention of female voters. No, absolutely, Brian. The book is you can say it's a book, but it's not about the book. It's about getting exposure with
according to Don Jr. It's about the book.
Middle class females.
According to Don Jr. It's about the book.
Right now, Trump is polling very poorly with middle class females.
Well, I'm just telling you, according to Donald Trump Jr., he appeared on The View. He was asked by several conservatives, and he said, "Well, I'm trying to sell a book."
The guy's a billionaire. Yeah. I'm not buying that.
Don Jr. is not a billionaire. That's not true.
And fine, but look at what he said here. Here's another quote. We've all done things that we regret. I don't think any of that makes me feel good, but I think we got into this because we want to do what's right for America. My father's been working tirelessly to bring back the American dream. He's brought jobs back. So, he's forget what the things that he's saying on these shows are, to me, so irrelevant, and it's what I despise about politics. So I don't watch the debates and stuff. It's just who can insult the other one in a more clever way, who can say the right thing that makes people applaud.
Whereas, that's out of Donald Trump's playbook, is it not? That's what he does in the debates.
The issue with this is, Brian,
and that's why I hate it. And but then again, look at what. I think if you take a reasonably statistical analysis of certain things that he's done during his presidency, I think one would determine he's an average president or maybe a slightly below average, but he's not this monster that the media are trying to portray him as.
And the media, what they do is they prioritize what he says over what he does, and tenfold.
Okay, well,
and obviously under those circumstances, he's going to look bad.
And you guys have a talk show, and obviously that's the most buzzworthy thing that this idiot said on the show, and it's idiotic and stupid, and anybody with half a brain, you literally will get nobody that will agree with what he just said.
You'd be surprised.
You can't.
You'd be surprised.
I hope not. But
Yeah.
regardless, the point is, like, it's just like the media trying to control the narrative. I'm not blaming you about that, but I'm saying, like, the fact that, like, that is the talking point of this show that he went on is, like, to me, the problem was just politics and the media in this
Well,
country.
to me, it's not a talking point. To me, it speaks volumes about the Trump family because I believe this is the way they think. And remember, we have a president of the United States who dodged the military because of bone spurs, but he goes after people like the late John McCain. Remember when John McCain was still alive, he said he didn't respect him because he was captured. And now you have his son who is at Arlington National Cemetery. Any decent, normal human being, regardless of policy, the first thing that I would think of is, oh my God, these heroes, these soldiers, and I know you would think the same way, Mr. X, that risked their lives and lost their lives for people like me, the freedom to be able to go on the radio and speak my mind. But the first thing that entered Don Jr.'s head is the sacrifices he makes campaigning for his father and making appearances like The View. It's disgusting.
It was just a really, really poor taste analogy.
It was a terrible thing to say. And, you know, my opinion about the military and politics actually is extremely not Republican. I think I'm probably the only person that feels this way, and I think you guys would probably very strongly disagree with my view, and it's actually why I didn't support John McCain. To me, being a war hero is amazing, and I could never do it. It's unbelievable. To me, it does not qualify one to be a politician.
All right,
and the reason I say that, and this is gonna, I don't mean this to sound insensitive, but somebody who was in a POW camp and who has endured horrors in combat, like how much has that affected one's just general ability to sort of, like, you know, make decisions and function? Like, I don't know if just the fact that one has been a war hero, to me, makes one a good politician or a good leader. Like,
I never said that. Yeah, and I would never say that, Mr. X. But before we move on to other subjects, I will say this: this guy Vidman, the Purple Heart recipient with shrapnel in his body, for Republicans or people on the right to attack this man and his patriotism is another disgusting thing that should never happen in politics.
Absolutely agree, 100%. That's stupid. It's something that should not even be discussed. Like, somebody does get a pass with regard to character when they serve in this country,
sure,
period, in some ways. But then again, I also think that...
Mr. X?
Did we lose Mr. X?
Oh, you're there, Mr. X?
We'll get him back on the line. I think we lost a little bit of... he might be on his Obama phone. I don't know. It's possible. But we lost Mr. X. We'll get him right back on the line here in a second.
That.
Well, I wanted to pull up this story because I think it's kind of important. So Dick Cheney is calling Christian Bale Dick. I thought that. Oh, we got Mr. X. We got you back. So tell him he's a dick. And, you know, maybe that's in reference to his first name. Cheney actually passed along to Bale that after the actor, of course, played him in that movie role. I think he was just having fun with it. What do you think? But I think that it's actually pretty funny.
I've never known Bale as being overly political. I mean, I know he's British, so I don't know what he like. I think he was probably just playing with the fact.
It's funny though. It's funny.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I love that. Like, I mean, and the relationship between politics and Hollywood stars is just hysterical.
Mr. X, I want to go back to The View real quickly, and I want you to hear this audio of Tulsi Gabbard and Joy Behar on The View. Now, as you know, Behar is a huge Democrat. She's a big lefty. I'm not a big fan of hers. I'll be honest with you. I'm not. I don't think she's very good. I don't even think she's funny. But Tulsi Gabbard, a lot of people on the left consider Tulsi Gabbard a Republican. I want you to hear this audio. This is them on The View earlier today.
Some of you have accused me of being a traitor to my country, a Russian asset, a Trojan horse. Or a useful idiot, I think was the term that you used.
A useful idiot.
Which basically means that I'm naive or lack intelligence to know what's going on.
They use that.
All right, so what do you make of that little exchange they had a few days ago on The View?
I don't even know which one's which. I've never watched that show, and I don't know.
You have to start watching it now.
Oh God! Why would I torture myself
we
like
can,
that? Like,
we can text back and forth.
Look at Whoopi Goldberg. She's
That's true.
Like, I just can't. No,
All right, but hold on a second. Wait, a lot of conservatives don't like The View, okay? And I was going to ask you about that, but you just made a comment about Whoopi Goldberg. Okay, I'm going to take issue with you with that.
She's fine.
Listen.
I'm kidding.
All right, but here's why. I'm not a huge Whoopi Goldberg fan. I've enjoyed a few of her movies. I don't watch The View. Listen. I'm with you on The View.
I preferred the first one.
Okay, I'm with you on The View. I don't like the show. I don't enjoy it. I don't watch it very often. In this case, I did. But I'll tell you one thing about a Whoopi Goldberg and a Joy Behar that I do respect. Nobody gave them anything in life because of their abilities or talents, because of their stand-up comedy. They've had pretty nice careers for themselves. You know, McCain sits up there, and everything she says is, well, my daddy this and my daddy that.
Brian likes everyone to struggle a little bit and to have problems with their parents.
I did not say that. I don't know why you would make that statement. If you let me finish my point, McCain has no business being up there. The only reason why she is up there is because of her father. That is the only reason. She didn't make any sacrifices in her life. Her father's a war hero. She's done nothing in her life. As far as I'm, she's another Don Jr. Okay, nobody would know who Don Jr. was if not for his father. Same thing with McCain. So Whoopi Goldberg, she started with nothing. She worked hard. She worked her ass off to get to where she is today. And same thing with Joy Behar. She worked the stand-up comedy room. She started in front of 20 people, and you know what? She made a name for herself. Why the hell is McCain up there? My daddy. Just shut up already.
Well, yeah, and to be honest with you, like Whoopi Goldberg's fine. I was kidding. I'm just
fair
not
enough.
Fan of her movies, but the thing is, like, none of Whoopi Goldberg or Joy Behar, these are not political scientists. These are not.
They wouldn't call themselves that.
Right, but it's a political show. I feel
like
they
have opinions. That's all.
Right, but that's the point. Is like I don't care what these celebrities' opinions are about politics. Like they just, it's clearly they're liberal.
A lot of people do. They get ratings.
Obviously, I mean they do, and so there's definitely a big.
So Mr. X, would you tell them to shut up and make people laugh?
No, I mean I'm not like saying like LeBron like shut up and dribble. By the way, that guy.
You're talking about JD is referencing the racist witch Laura Ingraham. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I had to say that once today. Go ahead.
John, Jay, I wouldn't say that, but what I would say is I'm not going to watch it.
Right.
I just don't, because I personally don't care what celebrities think about politics. It doesn't matter to me. Like, even when a celebrity comes out and is a big Trump supporter, I think it's amusing because I know the political climate out here. And so but I don't like respect them more. I don't think they're cooler. Most of the Trump supporters in Hollywood are completely insane. Like, guys like John Voight and stuff. Like I've spent time with these guys. They're raving lunatics.
John Voight.
And it's like, but like. So, yeah, that's the thing. I just don't look to these guys to tell me how I should think about politics. You know what I'm saying?
And I agree with you. Listen, listen, Mr. X, I agree with you. Make no mistake about it. Anybody out there who takes the opinion of a celebrity on politics and that's how they form their own opinion is a moron. Sadly, there are a lot of people out there that voted for Donald Trump because he is a celebrity. That's part of the problem.
Let's be honest. If Kanye West is going to run in 2024, I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. He's going to finish top 2 or 3.
I'll vote for him. Yeah.
It's going to happen. So we're going to stick to The View here. So Donald Trump Jr. He is accused of. So Drudge Report released the information of the whistleblower's name. And, the Donald Trump Jr. is obviously the son of the President of the United States. Donald Trump Jr. goes on Twitter and retweets or takes the information that he got from the Drudge Report and releases it on his Twitter page. Do you have a problem with that? Because I do not.
No. If it was online and it was a media outlet that was posting this, like he retweet it, whatever he wants. I don't know. And again, like this guy's defending his dad. I just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really have much of an issue with that,
Yeah, well, I disagree.
Well, it'd be much different if he went on, like Rand Paul was threatening to do, and he said, oh, by the way, I have information on the whistleblower. Here is his name. Mm-hmm. And it was totally private prior to that. I would have an issue with that. But just taking...
What about the thing with the Miami Dolphins where, like, somebody was, like, releasing... somebody was releasing...
Are you talking about Ray Finkel?
Yeah, no. I wish. Yeah, no. Somebody was releasing the names of Trump supporters, like people.
Yeah, voxing.
Like celebrities who had
very different circumstances.
The Trump campaign.
Right.
Very different.
That was Julian Castro.
Okay,
Yeah, but
I don't
yes and
agree.
No. Like,
I don't.
But you'll get blackballed.
Okay,
I mean,
don't.
That's the thing. Like,
I don't agree with the way Castro did that, and we spoke about that on the show, and I disagree with it. But here's the thing: this is not an everyday regular citizen like you or me. This is the son of the president of the United States. And while I understand he wants to defend his father no matter what his father says or does, I believe you should put the country first before your father's best interest. Number two, there is a reason why the Whistleblower Act is in place. It was put in place by both Democrats and Republicans to protect somebody in this situation. And I guarantee you, okay, well, listen, you can hold the person liable who might have leaked this information. I would support that, but it's one of those things where I said if somebody says something bad about your family or somebody says something negative about you that you don't want out there and somebody puts it out there and then I retweet it, you would have a problem with me doing that. It would still be inappropriate. Just because I didn't release the information myself doesn't make it inappropriate to retweet something. And here, that is my position when it comes to Don Jr. And by the way, Kimberly Guilfoyle, who was sitting right next to him on The View, agreed that it was not the right decision to make. This is his girlfriend, so to speak, and I put that girlfriend in quotations because I've heard some interesting stuff about Kimberly Guilfoyle. But anyway,
they have a very solid relationship.
Well, that's not what I've heard.
They're both extremely loyal to each other.
It's not what I've heard from some very good sources, and I've seen some text messages to prove that. But anyway, that's another story.
That at all,
that's another story for another show. No, I'm not lying at all. Yeah, I'm telling you the truth.
Donald Trump Jr. is a master of his own domain.
Breaking news.
I'm sure she's dating him because of his lavish looks and how intelligent he is.
He does have a decent beard.
Clearly.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Exactly.
But anyway, Mr. X, that's my point when it comes to that. I thought it was completely inappropriate, not illegal.
Sure. Listen. Let me be clear about something. I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump Jr. This is not a guy who I idolize. This is not somebody I ever want to hang out with. This is not somebody who I particularly respect. He's the son of the president. That's what he is. That means nothing. He's not an important person. He's not an intelligent person. He's not somebody that has achieved enormous success in any sector of his life. He's the son of a rich guy who became president. So, that's who we're talking about. And if he's got dumb opinions, so does my neighbor. So
but I disagree.
Makes me coffee.
I don't disagree with anything except for one thing, that he's not an important person. I believe when you're the son of the president of the United States and you have the following that he has, I do believe what he says matters. I do think he is important.
You're right. In a Kardashian-esque way, sure, they are also important.
Yeah.
But that's what he is. He's a Kardashian.
I agree.
He's a Trump-dashian. So, that's not
But he happens to be the son of the president.
He does, and that's the thing. And so, does that make him mean that I should respect him? It would be cool if he was an intelligent person.
No, he should respect, but he should respect proper behavior when the son of the president.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but Brian, has the left-wing media respected any proper behavior in their?
I'm not talking about the left
going after him and his father.
What about
I'm just saying the fact it's not whataboutism, Brian.
I'm not talking about the left. I'm talking about him specifically.
The fact that mainstream media at this point does not care what Donald Trump does, no matter how good it is for the country, but they care about how he acts and what he says, because they know who he is. They know Donald Trump's 74 years old. He's not going to change the way he acts. He's not going to change his rhetoric, and they're using that against him while not ever recognizing the good things that he's doing for the country.
I'm just speaking specifically about that.
That to me is much worse than Donald Trump Jr. retweeting something that's already out there.
We're going to continue this because we got to take a break.
That's the mainstream media not having the best interests of the country at heart, Brian.
Okay, well, we got to take a break.
Which you're all about.
Okay, well, we got to take a break. I want to thank Mr. X, the Hollywood conservative, for joining us as always. On a sad note, this Tim Donaghy movie about an NBA referee who cheating scandal. I'm very sad to know. I was supposed to go on a date this weekend and go see the movie, and I just found out that they're pulling it from the theaters. It's only been in there a week, Mr. X. We only got about 15 seconds.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know. I want to see that. That is a fascinating story to me. I remember when that came out. I wonder, I'm not sure why. I'm sure the NBA was not exactly happy for it to be there. So,
Mr. X, I always appreciate your perspective, and it's always a very good conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week, okay? All right, there you go, Mr.
Thanks
X.
a lot, Mr. X.
Coming up next, Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports. Is it true that OJ is suing the Cosmo because of TMZ? We'll ask him that. Coming up, you're listening to the Vegas Take.
So there's this guy named Jordan, and he's a healthy guy. He's a dad of 6, and he works as a guide in Alaska. But then he goes to the doctor, and he's diagnosed with cancer, stage 4. And here's the thing. He had switched from medical insurance to MediShare, which is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry. So the question for Jordan and his wife Jenny was, is this really going to work?
Our medical bills exceeded $160,000. Medishare members shared all our bills.
And it was about more than just the money, too. This is a real community.
Medishare is a family, a group of people that stick with you through the hardest times of your life. I just don't know how I could have done it without Medishare.
It's so worth looking into. There's a reason this is growing so fast. If you want to find out more, here's a number for you. 844-91-BIBLE. That's 844-91-BIBLE. 844-91-BIBLE.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
Hi, Doug Basham here. Join me Saturday afternoons from 2 to 4, and I'll tell you what your conservative, corporate-controlled, right-wing propaganda hate media isn't. You're welcome. That's Saturday afternoons, 2 to 4. Be there.
Join Coach Harvey Hyde and Chuck Hayes Saturday evenings from 9 to 10 p.m. for Trojan Football Report, presented by South Point Hotel and Casino, here on 101.5 FM and 720 AM KDWN, where Las Vegas comes to talk. Listen to the Texas Corners Bible Church every Saturday night at 11 p.m. and Sunday night at 10 p.m. on 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON.
This is Kevin Malone from the Department of Motor Vehicles. Go on our website, dmvnv.com, and sign up for a MyDMV account. You can see all of your driver's license and vehicle registration records in one place and do up to 20 online transactions. dmvnv.com. You're always first in line.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Your home for Sean Hannity. KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Vaping breakthrough. New transcripts out. I'm Mike Moss. There may be a breakthrough in the search for the cause of illnesses and deaths linked to vaping. The CDC's Deputy Director, Ann Schuckett.
These new findings are significant because for the first time, we have detected a potential toxin of concern, vitamin E acetate, in biologic samples from patients with lung injuries associated with the use of e-cigarette or vaping products.
Interestingly, vitamin E acetate is not harmful when applied to the skin or even swallowed, but when it's burned and inhaled, it apparently disrupts normal lung functions. However, the CDC says there may be more than one cause for the thousands of illnesses and 40 deaths. More transcripts are out from the impeachment inquiry, Ukraine investigation. One of the top Ukraine experts at the White House, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, and more from correspondent Manu Raju.
He raised concerns directly to Gordon Sondland, who is the ambassador to the European Union, at a July meeting, confronted him after Sondland raised the specter that Ukraine needed to launch these investigations into the Bidens and as well as into 2016 election interference. Vindman made clear to Sondland this was no area to push for these investigations. This was not appropriate.
The transcript from National Security Council official Fiona Hill is also out. Correspondent Kylie Atwood.
Fiona Hill had been at the White House essentially since day one as the top Russia advisor to President Trump. And she is painting a picture of how she came to know about the role of Rudy Giuliani, the president's personal lawyer. She was never briefed that he had a formal role with regard to Ukraine policy.
Testimony has linked White House acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney to withholding aid to Ukraine until it committed to investigating the Bidens. On Wall Street, the Dow down 46 points. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. An accident on the 95 southbound approaching Cheyenne Avenue remains off to the left. Watch for police activity in the North Valley. This is going to be on the 215 Northern Beltway at Sky Point, affecting westbound just approaching. And a crash injury sustained reported St. Rose Parkway southbound at the Southern Beltway. Rocket Mortgage created an experience centered around you to turn your dream into a reality. Personalized, simple, and convenient. That's Rocket Mortgage. Push button, get mortgage. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
For more than a year, the whole of Vermont was captivated by the hunt for a runaway golden retriever. Read Catching Murphy, the latest book from the Associated Press. Available now exclusively at Amazon.com.
Are you interested in owning rental properties right here in the Las Vegas area? Auction.com, the nation's leading real estate auctioneer, must sell 102 rental properties in the Las Vegas and Henderson markets. These are turnkey, income-producing single-family homes and condos with tenants and leases in place. That's right, the tenants are in place and currently paying rent on over 100 homes to be auctioned individually at auction.com/radio. Financing is available and a broker co-op is being offered for this one-time unprecedented online auction to be held November 11 through 13. Add more rentals to your portfolio, diversify your investments to add real estate, or buy your very first real estate investment. This is an auction that can't be missed. View all homes and auction details at auction.com/radio. That's www.auction.com/radio. Auction is subject to a reserve.
Hey Chuck, I know there are a lot of scams with online payday loans. What should people watch out for?
So many of these websites might look totally legit, but they're far from it. And the borrower needs to be very careful to make sure they're dealing with a lender that's licensed right here in Nevada, like Dollar Loan Center.
How do they get away with that?
It's normally the online companies that are based out of the country in places like Costa Rica or hiding on tribal land to skirt state lending laws. And others are just lead generators who will just bombard you with calls, texts, and emails. Just be careful and do your research.
That was Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center, with some very sound advice about online loan scams. We have over 50 local and licensed locations, and our friendly Dollar Loan Center staff are ready to help while keeping your information safe. Stop by or check us out online at don'tbebroke.com for all the details.
Licensed by Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Customer must meet the normal loan qualifications. To review loan qualifications, visit us at don'tbebroke.com. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
Does your child love math? Do they just love math so much that once they finish their homework, they want to work on extra math problems just for fun? Anyone? If you answered no, then you are not alone. While your child may not think math is important for their future, we know better. That's because Infinity the Math Institute offers the best math tutors in Las Vegas, produces the best results at the best prices for kids of all ages. Infinity the Math Institute does it all. Does your child need prep for the SATs? Right now, SAT preparation classes in November are just $15. Fractions, algebra, geometry, decimals, you name it. Plus, Infinity offers homeschool programs, free seminars for parents and students, and whether your child is transitioning from elementary school to middle school to high school, or preparing for college, Infinity can help. Classes are filling up. Call us now to find out more. 702-768-1777. That's 768-1777. You want the best results for your child? One call to Infinity can have a huge impact on your child's future. Call now, 768-1777. Tell them the Vegas Take sent you.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Hill with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Children love to play, but did you know play is important for healthy brain development? Play helps children learn language, math, and social skills, and lowers stress. This is good for kids and their parents. The next time your child wants to play with you, say yes. It's one of the best parts of being a parent. For more information on child development, visit healthychildren.org or talk with your pediatrician.
Family Promise of Las Vegas, please leave a message.
I've been laid off my job, so we're facing eviction. I have 2 daughters.
I'm calling for emergency shelter for me and my 2.5-year-old son.
I'm a single father with a 14-year-old daughter looking for emergency shelter.
Join with Family Promise of Las Vegas, where our mission is to bring homeless families with children home again, one family at a time. Visit fplv.org and become a friend of our family today.
My name is Janine McCoy with United Blood Services, and we need your help. Blood donations are low during this time of year. Take an hour out of your day to save 3 patients' lives. Donate now. Go to bloodhero.com, or you can call us at 702-233-9620.
Las Vegas's only FM news talk station is right here. The new 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
Hey, Twitter world, yours truly.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. Rolling out on a Friday. Why are all these poker players supporting Yang? They're calling it the Yang Gang. Well, we'll get to that. It certainly has something to do with poker, does it not, JD?
What?
Forget it. We'll move on. You're on your phone. Thank you for paying attention.
What, the Yang Gang?
Thank you for paying attention to the show.
I think Yang is great. I think he's got a lot of modern ideas. I like the fact that he comes in on segways and shows up at events. But yeah, Daniel Negreanu. So what happened was this guy Noah Sandler reached out to Andrew Yang. He actually he took him aside after a press conference and talked about online poker. Andrew Yang was so driven by it. We're talking about presidential candidate from the Democratic side, Andrew Yang, that he reached out to Daniel Negreanu, and it's just kind of started this whole thing. And so Noah Sandler is the reason why that happened, and he'll be on the show at 11:30.
Yeah, so he'll be coming up here in just a little bit. We're also covering this O.J. Simpson story we'll get to here in just a little bit. This is crazy because I remember this story came out as John Schaefer, our news anchor here, talked to us a little bit about this story. This happened a couple years ago where O.J. Simpson was kicked out of the Cosmo. They claimed that he was belligerent. They claimed that he was drunk. Well, now O.J. just filed a lawsuit yesterday in court claiming that the employees of the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas defamed him when they told TMZ he was kicked out of the hotel for being belligerent. This was back in November 2017. Can you imagine the backlash that a judge would get, or if it went to court, went to trial, that jurors would get if they awarded OJ like $1 million or $5 million or $500,000 or anything? Can you imagine the backlash on that? But apparently OJ was kicked out. And I know that he likes to hang out at these wine bars, right? What is that wine bar in Summerlin that he always hangs out at? Do you know what I'm talking about? I know you're on your phone. I'm sorry to distract you. Do you know the place where OJ goes to? And I keep forgetting the name of this place.
First of all, I don't want to get sued for telling our listeners where you can find O.J. Simpson.
You're not going to get sued.
Okay, well, he hangs out at Grape Street.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll like the free publicity.
Yeah. Out in Summerlin, out in that outdoor mall.
Too bad he's not hanging out in the Clark County Detention Center.
And he is there constantly. I'll tell you what, that place has great food, too, and a nice little atmosphere to watch football games. So I'm a fan of Grape Street.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable. This guy's kicking back, smoking cigars, drinking wine, playing golf every day.
You know, Malcolm Laverne said, and I quote, OJ is living his best life. And that's exactly what he's doing. He is living his best life.
Wait, do that impersonation again?
I'm not doing it again.
That was the impersonation of OJ's attorney.
I could do better.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is O.J. Simpson in his own words. He just put out another Twitter video. It just came out about 20 minutes ago or so. So this is fresh O.J. Simpson coming off of the golf course in Las Vegas. Here he is.
Hey, Twitter world, it's yours truly. Well, last night I had a couple of guys running on the Thursday night football. Terrell Williams, receiver for the Raiders, didn't do that well, but Josh Jacobs, you the man.
Yours truly.
When I drafted you in the fourth round of our fantasy draft, the guys were snickering at me. Well, who's laughing now?
Ooh,
You're
who's
great,
laughing
buddy, and
now?
I can't wait to see you live here in Las Vegas next year. A couple of big, intriguing games this weekend. We got the real tough Minnesota Vikings going against what I call the bipolar Cowboys.
Yeah, speaking of bipolar, you nut job.
And all that offensive talent.
Nobody's more bipolar than you
defense,
double murderer.
I think they're going to
piece
the
of
Super Bowl.
garbage.
I
next
think
week
that's
is
a good way to get him on the show, Brian.
The other game,
I like your
my
approach.
Buffalo Bills going against Cleveland. Buffalo, these are the games you got to win.
I can't take this anymore. Bipolar. If there's anybody's bipolar, one day he's a double murderer, the next day he's giving out fantasy football picks. Yours truly, sorry. Oh.
Tell you what, I'm going to take Cleveland.
Anyway.
I'm going to take Cleveland again for the 6th week in a row, and they're just going to keep kicking me in my you know what.
Well, that's your fault then. All right, joining us on the show right now, it's his fault because he joins us every week. He does a great job over there. Speaking of TMZ at TMZ Sports, that would be the man himself, Mike Babcock. Mike, thanks so much for coming on, my man. How you doing?
What's up, Mikey?
What's up, fellas? How are you?
Doing great.
So what is it, a day in the life of Mike Babcock? What do you got going? We should ask you this every week. What do you got going on in L.A. this weekend? You're a happening guy.
I have a buddy of mine, my best friend that I grew up with, coming into town this weekend, and his girlfriend's going to a wedding in Santa Barbara. I don't know why he's not going to the wedding with her, but he's going to be in town, so I'm going to go see him for dinner tonight and hopefully do some fun stuff with him this weekend. But my life is a lot duller than you'd expect now. I'm getting a little old. I'm 36 now. Yeah, I forget my own age.
Oh, stop
36 years old. So
That's a good age, Mikey.
It's good. Especially in L.A., guys, you see so many old people, so many old guys out at the clubs in L.A. It's actually funny.
I believe that.
It's unlike what you see around, in other places around the country. It's funny.
Well, you've got a lot of older guys that want to believe that they're younger, despite the fact that they look in the mirror and their bodies are clearly leaving them. They want that feeling that they can still get those younger girls.
You shouldn't talk about our president like that, JD. That's very inappropriate. So Mike, a lot of controversy in the NBA, and we've been talking about this story a lot. Where obviously the whole Kawhi Leonard story, and you're right there in LA, so you know this story better than anybody. Yep. And now you guys put up a story that Doc Rivers was fined. First of all, can you tell me exactly what Doc Rivers said about this? And can you give us just a little bit of background on this Kawhi Leonard rule, this NBA rule?
Right. So it's a little confusing. So the NBA put in a rule 2 years ago that said that when a game is nationally televised, a star player cannot just sit out for a load management reason. If there's an injury, of course he can sit out. So there's a whole process that the NBA has where if somebody has an injury, you have to show the NBA medical documentation, and then the NBA would, determine, this is a valid injury or it's not a valid injury. So Kawhi Leonard has this knee issue, and the NBA said, we agree, Kawhi is hurt, so he can sit out nationally televised games. And he did do that. He sat out 2 ESPN games back-to-back weeks. So he missed 2 nationally televised games, which obviously hurts ratings. That's not what ESPN wants. They want, the big superstar Kawhi Leonard to play when their games are on TV. So everything was fine until Doc Rivers, after the game, talking to the media, he says he essentially contradicts, says that Kawhi is fine, is healthy, doesn't have an injury. In fact, he said he never felt better. So there was a contradiction there. Now, the NBA, they fined the Clippers $50,000, and it's not the kind of what people are losing here. It's not that the NBA is saying that Kawhi isn't hurt. They believe Kawhi actually is hurt. They are just mad, upset with Doc for telling the media that Kawhi was not hurt. So it's a little bit confusing, but it all boils down to the fact that the NBA doesn't want healthy players sitting out for no reason because it hurts TV ratings, and it also upsets fans. I mean, people buy expensive NBA tickets to see Kawhi Leonard and NBA superstars play, not sit, wearing a suit on the bench. So a little bit of a strange situation with Kawhi Leonard and Doc Rivers.
So I'm a little confused here. Doc Rivers knows his players better than anybody. Why on earth would Doc say he's not hurt if he is? I find that to be suspicious.
So I've talked to some people that are around the team, and what I gather is that Kawhi is a very private person and would rather his medical stuff not be out there.
I believe that.
The kind of the rub here, the thing that makes it hard is that the medical information has to be out there in order for him to not be breaking this rule.
Right.
You have to tell people that he is hurt. Otherwise, there's no way to sit down for these nationally televised games. So what I gather from what I've heard is that Doc was kind of trying to give some cover for Kawhi, and he wasn't going to put his business out there. So when he was asked about Kawhi's injury, I don't know that he knew he was going to get fined $50,000. Maybe if he knew that, he would have handled it differently. But I think at its core, Doc knows that Kawhi has a little knee thing going right now, but he just wasn't going to publicly talk about a very private guy's health.
Well, and $50,000 to Kawhi is a big deal considering he drove a '97 Ford Explorer for about 23 years. That's 3 of those, isn't that? But you know
what? Well, the thing is, Steve Ballmer is going to pay the fine, and $50,000 to Steve Ballmer is nothing.
That's $5.
That's very true. So do you have an issue with this, Mikey? Because I look at Kevin Durant, when he comes back and plays for the Nets, he's going to need at least 7 or 8 of these games now, of these front load games, isn't he? I mean, if you've had a prior injury, I have no issue with this new rule. And honest to God, it's keeping the players happy, and it's keeping the super teams intact, and it's keeping the players where they want to be for an extended amount of years. I think it's actually good for the NBA and for the fan bases and their teams.
Yeah, I think this is the best possible thing they could come up with. You have old school guys. Michael Jordan just said yesterday that you're getting paid to play 82 games, so I expect you to play 82 games. But the reality is that, and look, the Raptors, they sat Kawhi how many times last year? They sat him a lot, and they won the championship. He was
exactly. You're keeping
they won the title. So I mean, you can't argue with the results. I mean, I think just the bottom line is that the NBA season is rigorous. Back-to-back games especially are rigorous. It's tough on these guys' bodies. But at the same time, you have to balance that with when you have a game that's going to be played in front of the whole country on ESPN or on TNT, we have to try to find a way for the big stars to play in those games. And I think you have to try to limit, guys sitting out, because NBA tickets are really expensive, and it's upsetting if it's a dad somewhere who buys a ticket for him and his son to go watch Kawhi Leonard play, and then when they get to the stadium, the arena, they find out Kawhi's not playing. I mean, that sucks. So there's a balance. There's a give and take.
There's definitely a fine line.
I think this rule is actually the best that could be done.
And let's be honest, Michael Jordan played against three guys that would not have a chance in the NBA right now: Brian Russell, Bob Sura, Jeff Hornacek. Those guys would never even sniff the league right now. The level of competition is much higher. Yeah,
right.
so
I'm with you. Different game right now.
Exactly. Much better athletes across the board. MJ was the class, so he was the class of the league back then, but now you've got a lot of athletes that are comparable to him. So Conor McGregor is not the father of a 2-year-old love child DNA test shows. Can you talk about that?
Yep, he's not the father. It's like a Maury episode. There was a 2-year-old child, and there was a woman who said that Conor McGregor was the father, and this was a love child as a result of a relationship that Conor had outside of his long-term relationship with Dee Devlin. But they had the paternity test done, and he is not the father. So another sticky situation here that Conor escaped from.
He gets in a lot of those, doesn't he? So I'm looking at this Warriors team. They had Durant, they had Curry, they had Draymond Green, they had Klay Thompson, and within 9 months, it's probably the worst team in the NBA. I've never seen a transformation like that in 9 months. And I think Eric Pascal's got a chance to win the Rookie of the Year, and I recommend, if you're a wagering guy, to put a bet on him there. But have you ever seen a fall from grace like this before, Mikey?
Well, Caitlyn Jenner had quite the transformation. Sorry, go ahead.
I would argue a bigger transformation. Yeah. No, it's been stunning. I think it's a combination of, one, how dominant they were for the last 4 or 5 years, coupled with the fact that you have the guy and Kevin Durant, who is probably the second best player at worst in the league, leads, and then some devastating injuries, and I think that's why we have what is such it's crazy to look at. Sometimes I still forget. I still think that they're the Warriors, and then I'll see a score, and it's shocking to see how bad they are now. But I don't think it's over for them. I think a lot of people have said it's over for them, and it's clearly over for them this year. I think with Steph, had he not gotten hurt, I think they maybe had a chance to sneak in, with the 8th spot in the West. But I think next year, assuming that Klay and Steph are healthy, I don't know if they're going to win a championship again, but I think they'll be right there. I think, Klay, I love Klay. I think Klay is one of the best players in the league. He might be the best shooter. Just defensively, he's so good.
He's so good defensively, right.
And, so with Draymond and Steph, I think that's a pretty damn good nucleus. So I think obviously be a down year for them this year, but I think next year they'll be right back.
And the news came out that Steph's finger injury is actually worse than they thought. He'll be out for the year. I think the Warriors have a chance to draft LaMelo Ball in the top 2 next year.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see certainly how that goes. Okay, TMZ's Mike Babcock joining us on the line. So FSU just paid Willie Taggart around $18 million not to coach the team after starting 9-12. That's a lot of money to lose your job. And now we're learning that Deion Sanders is being backed by LeBron James. You guys put a story up on TMZ about this. Tell me about it.
Yeah, look, Deion has said, I think it was while Dan Reeves was still coaching the Falcons, that Deion said he wanted to coach. So he said for some time now that he has wanted to get into coaching. There's been some buzz that Deion could be considered for the FSU head coaching job. LeBron James, who we know is from Ohio, but he's a Dallas Cowboys fan, so maybe he has a little bit of a connection there to Deion Sanders. But he has endorsed Deion Sanders for what that is worth to get the FSU job. But personally, I think it's a bad idea. I don't understand why in the world Deion would ever want to do this, why a guy who is rich and famous would want to commit the time and the energy that it takes to run a college football program. I don't know why he would want to have to go into the living rooms and the kitchens of kids and kiss up to kids and their parents and try to get guys to commit to FSU. I just don't understand why an all-time great would want to put himself in this situation.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do it.
Also, right, you know what I'm also thinking, guys? You also then have this touchy situation. If it doesn't go well and FSU is forced to fire Deion Sanders, now you've just fired the guy who was arguably the best player that you've ever had.
Right.
That adds another dimension to it. Also, I just don't understand why Deion would want to do it. If all these rumors are,
I don't think he's going to.
Well,
Yeah,
he could have spent a lot of money. He's got 4 or 5 kids. He's going to recruit unbelievably well. He's a smart guy. He's going to know how to play good defense, especially from the defensive back or the defensive back position. I think at this point anything is better than Willie Taggart.
I would agree with that. Hey, Mike, did you say you were going to a wedding this weekend? Is that what you said?
No, I said my buddy's girlfriend is going to. No
Okay.
wedding for me this weekend.
All right.
Thankfully,
Well, tell your buddy if he sees any single women out there at the wedding that there are some single 39-year-old bald white Jews that do radio shows that would be interested. So just spread the word, okay?
I'll send them your way.
Mr. Babcock, always love it when you come on, my man.
You
always
have no shame, Brian.
I have no shame at all. All right, Mike. Have a good.
I got you, Brian. We're going to find you somebody.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. All right. Have a great weekend, my friend. We'll catch you next week, okay? All right, there you go. TMZ Sports' very own Mike Babcock. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll explain why TMZ was not able to talk about this O.J. Simpson story. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take.
Tuscany Suites and Casino is the place for locals to go. Every Thursday, Tuscany celebrates their seniors with the 50-50 Club. Club members get 10 and 6 times multipliers just for playing their favorite games. And if you're not a member of the 50-50 Club, you can still come take advantage of 11 and 7 times multipliers on Mondays and Wednesdays. Free coffee for 50-50 Club members and 20% off at Tuscany Gardens. For more information, go to TuscanyLV.com or visit the Players Club. Tuscany Suites and Casino, where parking is always free.
Preventative Diagnostic Center now open in Las Vegas. Dr. Pierce, one of the top doctors for wellness and prevention, and he and his team of experts are here to help with your health. Take charge of your health with a simple 14-second scan. I'm going to do it. That could change your life. Preventative Diagnostic Center offers peace of mind, and that is priceless. More information, pdcenterlv.com. That is pdcenterlv.com, or call 702-534-7900.
Sunday nights, it's Steve Sanchez.
Wake the heck up.
Live from the Undisclosed Bunker Studios, with a Constitution in one hand and a Bible in the other. Sundays from 7 to 10 p.m. on News Talk 720 KDWN.
This is Lorraine Hunt Bono, inviting you to tune in for Breaking Bread with Bono. Join my husband, Dennis Bono, as celebrities share with him their intimate and humorous stories. Saturdays, 5 to 6 p.m., right here on KDARN.
Hi, this is Harvey Blankfeld, host of Las Vegas Real Estate Now. Please tune in every Saturday at 11 a.m. and listen to us deliver timely, balanced truths about our market right here in Southern Nevada. You know, there's nothing that I enjoy more than educating our listeners about real estate, except maybe a well-prepared Reuben sandwich where the corned beef is really lean. Sorry, I digress. But please do tune in every Saturday at 11 a.m. and learn about real estate right here on the new 101.5 FM 720 AM KDAWN, the talk of Las Vegas.
I'm Tony Elliott with the Nevada Department of Transportation. If you're looking for up-to-date road and construction information, be sure to visit our website, nevadadot.com.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Morse, the Executive Director of the Josh Stevens Foundation, born out of the heart of a young boy, Josh Stevens, who passed away in a tragic accident a month before his 13th birthday. The Josh Stevens Foundation is now spreading kindness on school campuses in more than 12 states and 350 schools. Help us to spread kindness with the Josh Stevens Foundation. You can do this by signing up to volunteer through our website, purchasing one of our Be Kind shirts through our online store, or encourage your school to join our Be Kind program and become a Be Kind school at joshstevensfoundation.org. We'd love to hear from you and appreciate all of you continuing to spread kindness throughout our community.
Steve Sanchez, weekdays 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM 720 AM. KDAWN.
You're great, buddy, and I can't wait to see you live here in Las Vegas.
Who's OJ talking about now? Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So TMZ not allowed to talk about this O.J. Simpson lawsuit because it involves TMZ, and he's suing Cosmo over this TMZ story where apparently people at the Cosmo said that he was belligerent November 2017. TMZ printed that story. Now O.J. is filing this lawsuit. As I mentioned, O.J. likes to put out these videos on Twitter on a regular basis. O.J. just put out a new Twitter. It involves the NFL and fantasy football. And this was just out in the last hour here. So this is fresh audio. Let's have a listen to O.J. in his own words.
Hey, Twitter world, is yours truly. Well, last night I had a couple of guys running on the Thursday night. Football, Terrell Williams, receiver for the Raiders, didn't do that well, but Josh Jacobs, you the man. When I drafted you in the 4th round of our fantasy draft, the guys were snickering at me. Well, who's laughing now? You're great, buddy, and I can't wait to see you live
OJ, you the man.
here in Las Vegas next year. Couple of big, intriguing games this weekend. We got the real tough Minnesota Vikings going against what I call the bipolar Cowboys. You know, 1 week with that offensive line and all that offensive talent and speed on defense, I think they're going to the Super Bowl, and the next week is just the opposite.
Hi, I'm bipolar
The other
OJ
game,
Simpson.
my Buffalo Bills going against Cleveland. Buffalo, these are the games you got to win to show that you're a playoff team. And you know, this morning I heard Nate Burleson refer to the Browns as sneaky bad. I thought that was pretty appropriate. You know, they got too much talent to lose the games that they lose. If I was coaching them, I would make sure that Baker Mayfield is under center. I'd have a fullback back there with Chubb and now Kareem Hunt. Play action pass is real tough on the defense when the quarterback is under center. I'm just saying. I'm not a coach.
I'm just saying.
One superstar who might become a coach soon is Deion Sanders going to Florida State. My son went there, so I kind of cheer for them. When I was a kid, they said great players didn't make good coaches. They were talking about Norm Van
When I was a
Brocklin.
kid, I dreamed about committing
I heard it
double
said about
murder.
Michael Jordan also. They said that their standards, their personal standards are too high for dedication and commitment
What
to
a
playing.
psycho.
And a lot of times their players can't meet that. In any event, cheering for you, Deion, if you decide to go.
Sure, he appreciates
I'm
that.
just saying.
I'm just
Take
saying.
care.
I'm just saying. I'm the most bipolar person on the planet. I'm O.J. Simpson. I'm just saying. By the way, I'm sure Deion Sanders really appreciates the fact that you're supporting him, O.J.
Was he intoxicated that night, Brian?
I don't know.
They never did a test on him?
I can't answer because we only have 10 seconds and we got to go to break. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, why are so many poker players supporting this guy Yang running for president? That coming up next.
Transcripts released in the impeachment inquiry are linking White House acting chief of staff Mick Mulvaney to withholding aid to Ukraine to get them to investigate the Bidens. Mulvaney was a no-show to his subpoena to appear before the inquiry today. Vitamin E acetate, used as a cutting agent in cannabis vaping products, has been linked to causing the outbreak of lung problems affecting thousands. But the CDC says there may be another agent also to blame. In Germany today, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo applauded German Chancellor Angela Merkel.
The problems that Germany and the United States have taken on behalf of the world have been enormous. We have worked together to raise millions of people out of difficult situations from authoritarian regimes.
Pompeo accused Russia and Syria of airstrikes that hit a school, hospital, and homes, killing at least 12. On Wall Street, the Dow was down 70 points at this hour. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the K-Don Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. An accident on the 95 southbound approaching Cheyenne Avenue remains off to the left. Watch for police activity in the North Valley. This is going to be on the 215 Northern Beltway at Sky Point affecting westbound just approaching. And a crash injury sustained reported St. Rose Parkway southbound at the Southern Beltway. Rocket Mortgage created an experience centered around you to turn your dream into a reality. Personalized, simple, and convenient. That's Rocket Mortgage. Push button, get mortgage. John Michaels from the K-Don Traffic Center.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. The world is changing. Isn't it time smoking changed too? Vuse Alto is a vapor product offering you a satisfying alternative to cigarettes. Simple to use, surprisingly quiet, and impressively powerful. Our best vapor yet at our best price ever, 99 cents, plus tax at participating retailers. 99-cent offer applies to Alto device. Pods sold separately. Underage sale prohibited.
Tina Trenner is back, and she's on 720 AM, 1015 FM, KDWN every Sunday at 12:30 p.m. She's sick of the nonsense and has something to say every Sunday at 12:30 p.m.
Hi, this is Harvey Blankfeld, host of Las Vegas Real Estate Now. We are saying farewell to Tuesdays at 9 a.m. and moving to Saturdays at 11 a.m. Please do tune in every Saturday at 11 a.m. and learn about real estate right here on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
You're in charge of hiring,
And Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they're the right hire. We'll also have a dolphin chatter excitedly in front of the perfect candidate. Okay, there's no dolphin. But skills tests, that's a for sure.
See why independent research by Silk Road shows Indeed delivers 3 times more hires than any other job site. Visit Indeed.com/promo today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply.
Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally, so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702-570-2240.
The jobs of the future will be heavily geared towards science, technology, engineering, and math. In other words, the future is STEM. So if you're a middle school student, talk to your school counselor about STEM. A public service message from America's Navy.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Hey, are you ready to quit smoking? There's a free Nevada resource here to help you. Just call 1-800-QUIT-NOW from a Nevada area code.
Steve Sanchez, weekdays 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
Well, who's laughing now?
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, so glad you could join us on a Friday. Continuing hour number 3. Yeah, we'll get back to OJ probably in a little bit. I mean, you always have fun with OJ Simpson. But, we had professional poker player Danny Negreanu on the show not that long ago. And believe it or not, we really don't talk a lot of poker with Daniel. He's such a huge Vegas Golden Knights and knowledgeable NHL hockey fan. It's just unbelievable how knowledgeable the guy is. Very intelligent guy. And I asked him, I said, who are you supporting for president? Who do you think can beat Donald Trump, and who are you supporting? And he said Andrew Yang. And there were a lot of different reasons why he said he supported Andrew Yang, but certainly one of them is because Andrew Yang is a big supporter of legalizing online poker. So this is Andrew Yang, in his own words right now, talking at a fundraiser about legalizing online poker.
It reminded me a little bit of the marijuana laws in the country, where you have this hodgepodge, like state by state, and it's legal some places and not other places, which ends up creating, in some ways, like the worst of all worlds. And so, to me, we need to clarify the rules, and the best way to clarify them, in my mind, would be to make online poker legal nationwide.
All right, so that's Andrew Yang's take, and obviously he's getting support from a lot of poker players. Now, I'm going to say, to an extent, why I disagree with that, and we'll get into it a little bit about this, but the guy we have with us in studio right now is a member of the Yang Gang. The Yang Gang, basically, is a bunch of poker enthusiasts. They don't have to be poker professionals, but poker enthusiasts, novice poker players to professional poker players. They could be anybody who support this guy Yang, and one of those main reasons because he is such a big supporter of the poker community and legalizing online poker. Noah, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great.
Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. Okay, so is what I just explained fairly accurate? Is that why you're a big Yang and part of this Yang Gang supporting staff, I guess you could say, his take on online poker? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Yang Gang actually refers to just any Andrew Yang supporter, but definitely he's got a lot of supporters in the poker community. And, one reason certainly is his support of online poker, legalizing it. But also, I think just his approach to politics in general gets a lot of poker players excited.
Sure.
Because, we're gamers, we like talking strategy, and the way he approaches policies is he really looks at them and just comes up with like the best solution.
All right, and that's fair, and I respect your opinion. And by the way, for the record, I like this guy.
And I will say this, that when Negreanu came on our show, Noah actually talked to Yang after that. We did not talk to Negreanu about online poker. He liked Yang prior to even knowing that Yang was all about online poker. And Noah Sandler is the one who spoke to Yang after an event and privately asked him about it. And then Yang reached out to Negreanu after that. So he's the one who basically started the whole Andrew Yang being involved in online poker. Noah started that.
That's very interesting that you did that. Okay, so let's talk about online poker, because I have a lot of problems with online poker. First of all, I think there's a lot of cheating that we know of, and it's been a lot of cheating that we don't know of. In fact, I'm friends with some of these poker players like Yukon Brad, who lost millions of dollars due to collusion and cheating. Mike Matusow, who lost millions of dollars online cheating. The problem is there are some people out there. I'll go all the way back to Ultimate Bet and Russ Hamilton. That scumbag still lives here in Las Vegas, okay? He literally had programs and knew exactly the cards that all people were holding. And again, these are the stories that we know about. Now, I understand there's regulations, and I understand that back then, these are software and sites that were their main, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of these were offshore, right? There wasn't as much regulations. You cannot stop several different people from colluding at the same table. And yet, you could say to yourself, over time, you're going to see if they're cheating or not. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. But I have no faith in online poker. I don't trust the online card generators, so to speak. And I know that you're getting a gazillion more hands than you were in a live game. I totally understand that. But with that being said, I have seen some of the most horrific beats and some of the worst hands I've ever seen in my life in online poker. I think it is an issue. I don't think anybody should play poker at a high level online. If you're playing $1, $2 no limit, or if you're playing in these $10, $5 sit and goes, I think that's fun. But I think online poker is very dangerous, just like I would say the same thing about online blackjack or online roulette or craps, only these are real people. And whenever there's real people involved online, and when we're talking about large amounts of money, I'm not talking about small games, I'm talking about the bigger games, I think there's collusion and cheating, and that's why I don't think online poker should be legal.
Yeah, I think that your concerns are definitely valid, and I think the same thing can be said about marijuana and a lot of other situations where the government has gone for a prohibition stance. But what happens when you do that is a lot of the same problems that you're talking about. And, over the years with unregulated online poker, the American poker player has no recourse whatsoever. If some poker site, in Costa Rica or some other country decides to screw them over and is cheating and takes their money, then there is nothing that we can do about it. But if we actually, legalize and regulate online poker, that's something that we can do something about. We can actually have, strict standards in place for the number generators that are used for the the poker programs.
Do you agree with me though with those poker programs? I mean, I've seen some ridiculous hands.
Well, but maybe that's one of the reasons why they are the way they are, because they know that they really can't get in trouble for doing what they're doing if they're offshore. And
correct me if I'm wrong.
And the American poker player, the online poker player, he obviously wants to play cards, and if he's constantly having money stolen from him, and he can do nothing about that. I mean, that shouldn't be the way that it is.
I know I might be getting in the weeds here for people that don't understand poker, but let me try to explain to you or not you because you're a poker player, but to our listeners, in most live games, not everybody makes a hand, every hand, right? I mean, there's a lot of hands where somebody tries to steal the blinds, or maybe the flop doesn't hit 3 or 4 people that are in the hand pre-flop, and somebody tries to steal the pot, they take it down, and the pot never builds. I find that to be very rare in online poker. I find that if somebody raises and there's several people that call, maybe even just 3 or 4 people, it seems to me usually, not all the time, but usually there's at least 2 people that make some sort of hand.
There's always action.
Right, exactly. Whether it's a draw or somebody flops top pair, it always seems to me if somebody goes all in pre-flop with aces, they get screwed. It just appears to me that, as JD just said, the reason and how these sites make money in the cash games is through rake. The bigger the pot, the more rake they make. And it just appears to me that it's dishonest. And if you look at a live game, far less people are making hands as compared to online. I think that's a big issue. I would even say that with the WSOP website that is in Las Vegas. Or is that site still going on? I know there was another site that went for a while and then they went bust. But that's my take on the online, on top of the fact that we haven't even begun to talk about the cheating and the collusion. How do you police collusion? That's the question I would ask you. How do you police 2 or 3 people that are very good at what they do? They're professionals. They gang up at the same table.
Usually from Russia.
Well, wherever they are. They gang up at the same table, and whether it's a sit-and-go tournament or a cash game, it's very difficult to police that. And if you're sitting at a table and you know the cards that are being held by 2 or 3 other players at the table, if you know anything about poker, you would know that is an enormous advantage. For example, let's just say you have a hand like ace-queen, okay? And your 2 or 3 opponents somebody has ace king, somebody has ace jack, you're going to fold that hand because the chances of you making that hand are far more slim. So, or if you have a hand like pocket tens or pocket jacks and your three friends are all holding aces or kings, you have a much better chance of winning that hand because there's a less chance of an overcard coming up. Those are just a couple examples, and I'm not a professional. So that's another part of my concern, not just the online generators.
But you do have a video on YouTube of you blowing up at the World Series of Poker,
which has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
It makes you kind of a professional.
I'm not a professional poker player. I don't want to be a professional poker player. I appreciate that. But, in all seriousness, I just think it's way too easy to cheat. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, Noah.
For one, I've been playing poker for maybe 15 years professionally, mostly full time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've played a lot of online poker. I've played a lot of live poker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I think human beings are pretty bad at understanding like what it feels like to have real statistics slap you in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, in live poker, you can go months of getting your ass handed to you while being a very good player and playing a winning strategy.
Sure.
And online, people can play multiple tables at the same time, and these bad beats happen so much more frequently. But I can say, I was playing online poker for a living for a number of years, and I did very well, but they have poker tracking software that can tell you the statistics, and that was what I used at the time is, and these are actually banned in certain places. WSOP that is in Nevada, they ban these types of software. They can actually check your computer.
Why would they ban it?
Because it gives an advantage to players that know about it, and the players that are more recreational players, they may not think to use it, and that would put them at a disadvantage.
Give me an example. What's the biggest thing you learned that helped you, say, in a hand or in some situation when it came to this sort of software?
Well, using the software, it would be that, it would tell you the frequency that your opponent would play a hand. So if you're playing at someone and they're playing 100% of hands, that means they're never folding anything. And then you can start to exploit that by playing differently. And if they're only playing 5% of hands, you know that when they come in with a raise, they probably have pocket aces, pocket kings.
It's a big advantage.
Right?
But if you're actually paying attention, I understand what you're saying. If you're a professional and you're playing multiple tables, that's something that helps you a lot. But I do think live poker is real poker. I'm just going to say this. Live poker is the essence of poker. You could actually see the other person. Not to say that there aren't some sort of tells with what you're talking about online where the frequency of hands and that sort of thing. But you can't see the other person. And in my personal opinion, if you can't see the other person, then it's not real poker. I think of a guy like Durdwan, okay? Durdwan has made a gazillion dollars playing online poker. I watch him play live poker. I've watched him play, high-stakes poker, that sort of thing. I don't think he's a genius. I don't think he's this unbelievable poker. Is he a good player? Absolutely. The guy can't win a World Series of Poker tournament.
He's also a horrendous, one of the worst sports bettors in probably the history of the world.
Because I think he's a joke. What I've heard is he's lost most of his money, as many of these so-called professional poker players do. These online players, all due respect to you, but I know you're also a live player. A lot of these, quote-unquote professional online players, they've lost all their money playing live games. They don't know what they're doing when they play in a live. Not everybody, but a lot of these players do that. And then a guy like a Phil Hellmuth, who I know personally, who is, in my personal opinion, one of the best tournament live players in the world, he can't win online. I just think, again, I'm going back to, I sound negative. I know I sound negative here. Listen, I enjoy playing in these cheap poker tournaments online. They're fun. They're enjoyable. But to actually play real poker to try to make money, I just think it's a bad long-term deal, man. I really do.
Yeah, there are a lot of advantages to online poker that make it exciting for people to play. I think that the majority of professional poker players that play on at least the I'd say more regulated sites like PokerStars, Party Poker back in the day, say that the random number generators are legit. The percentage of hands that make it to the flop, similar to what I'm not going to say it's similar to live poker, but there are differences between online poker and live poker that are explained by things other than the actual, how the software functions.
Right.
But basically, as far as the numbers of the cards that are dealt, on your average well-run site, it's going to equal what you're going to see live. But it's basically player bias that it makes it complicated to understand what's happening when you're playing online, that it feels different. And when something happens, your first thought is, this is rigged. This is, I'm being screwed. Now, to be clear, there have been instances of cheating that have happened at these unregulated online sites where a player would have some backdoor entrance into the software to be able to see people's hole cards, and that does happen at times. But I mean, my point with all this is that basically online poker itself is fine. Like, online poker, if it's regulated and they prevent people from using this tracking software that gives me an advantage. I mean, you wouldn't believe what people are able to do as far as making sure that like nothing is running on your computer. If you're running the poker software, like they make sure there's no tracking software anywhere. Otherwise, they would detect it. You'd get banned. If they're doing their job, they can actually make it very fair and very safe for players.
How do you police collusion?
So collusion can be policed because there are certain play patterns that happen when people are colluding. And if it becomes a problem, it can be detected. Another thing is, I mean, real collusion that really makes a difference would tend to be if there's just like 3 players at the table.
I was talking about Donald Trump. I don't know what you're talking about. No, I'm just kidding.
That's what I meant. If there are 3 players,
right.
One of them is Manafort. And
exactly.
Yes.
No, okay, but listen, you make some
Yes.
good points there. And listen, I agree with you. When it's regulated in the United States of America, I have far more, I guess you could say, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess I have far more trust in it if it is in this country and it's regulated. There's no question about it. Look, I was sponsored by a website when I had a short stint as a quote unquote professional player by Full Tilt Poker, right? Full Tilt Poker, we know the mastermind schemes and what transpired with Howard Lederer and Chris Jesus Ferguson and the people that were behind that. So many people that were screwed out of their money. I'm not saying that would happen here because I do believe if that happened in the United States, people would go to jail. I do believe Ferguson and Lederer belong in jail.
Absolutely.
I think it shows a lot to the game or sport of poker that they even allow those 2 scumbags back into the WSOP is beyond me. I just think, and again, we just had this situation with Postel. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but we just had a cheater that was exposed, and this is a guy that we know that was exposed for cheating at the table. My personal opinion is poker is a scummy game. Let's be honest. We are sitting there. Well, here's why I say that. We're sitting there to lie. We're sitting there. It's competition. We're sitting there to take our opponent's chips. It's not a gentleman's game. I don't like it when people call poker a gentleman's game. This shouldn't be about people dressing up in suits being nice to one another. No, it's a game about trying to finagle your way into taking your friends or your opponent's chips. To me, there's nothing gentleman about that. Golf is a gentleman's game. Poker is not a gentleman's game. And when I see these people at the World Series of Poker, by the way, your friend Noah is like, God, this guy's just bashing poker for 30 minutes. But I'm just giving.
That's what I came here for. That's
when you go to the World Series of Poker, these are supposed to be some of the best poker players in the world. A guy like a TJ Cloutier, who to some has been one of the best players in the world for a long time. He's a little older now. He doesn't play. I see him walking around the WSOP every year asking people to back him for money. Phil Ivey, I know this for a fact, lost a lot of money. He took a large loan from somebody that I know personally not that long ago. And we're not talking about $5 million. We're talking about a small 6-figure range. He took a loan, and he owes people money. There are a lot of people in the poker world that either owe people money or don't have money, and these are some people that are huge names that you could argue are some of the biggest players in the world. I think that is a big problem with poker because I think poker pushes into degenerate gambling, sports betting.
You think it's a gateway drug?
I do.
It's definitely a gateway drug.
I do.
No, I'm back to the online poker. How do you know when you say that the generator is monitored by whoever, or it is guaranteed to be safe and to be legal and to not have any flaws or to be manipulated by a hacker like a Russian hacker? How do you know that to be true?
Oh, I mean, I don't know that to be true, but what I'm saying is that
wouldn't the government have to get involved and make sure that the card generator is 100% legitimate for it to make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at a minimum, there'd have to be an independent regulator of some type, which some industries are independently regulated. I mean, either that or government. But basically, there needs to be some type of regulation to make sure that the players feel safe.
Some governing body of some sort.
Why don't we take a few quick phone calls? Number to call 702-257-5396. What are your thoughts on online poker? And Yang wants to legalize it throughout every state in the country. The number to call 702-257-5396. 257-5396. Do you agree with me? Do you think it's a bad idea? Do you think there's too much cheating and the regulation won't help much? Or do you agree that, it should be legalized? Do you agree with Yang that it should be legalized? 257-5396. Let's go to Chris. Chris, what do you think about all this?
What's up, Chris?
Hey, guys. How you guys doing?
Good.
Hey, I just want to share my experience on WSOP website
Sure.
here in Las Vegas. And I don't play 25-cent games. I'm playing 10, 20, no-limit games where, pre-flops like $800, $900 in
Sure.
the pot.
Yep.
And let me tell you, I have stopped playing that website because I have felt that I've been scammed so many times, and
there you go.
It doesn't feel fair because when I'm holding pocket kings and some guy's holding a queen 2 offsuit and hits the deuce on the river for two pairs, and it's like a $4,000 or $5,000 pot, and you lose consecutively like that. It leaves a very bad taste in your mouth.
So, Chris, you agree with everything that I've said. I've said a lot here. Is there anything you disagree with?
No, I think you're 100% correct on this one, brother.
Okay, so, Chris, hang on the line here for a second. And by the way, I'm sorry that happened to you. Noah, what do you say to this guy, Chris, who is not a small games player? These are big pots he's playing. 10-20 is a big game, by the way. What would you say to Chris right now?
I'd say that just yesterday, my buddy Luca, who was on this show a little while ago, he sent me a series of text messages about how he couldn't possibly run worse. I mean, he had just lost a number of hands consecutively and thought that the game is rigged and he's going to quit poker. And my opinion is that from playing poker for very many years, that's just something that happens. It feels really bad when you lose a number of hands in a row, and it's just going to happen that you're going to feel that fate's against you, and then you want to blame.
Look,
something,
bad beats.
And I say it with empathy because I've been there.
Bad beats happen.
Yeah.
So you're saying that if Chris rebought, played for 6 more months, played a solid structure, a relatively risk-free style, made the correct plays, that he would actually end up making money long term.
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying there's no validity, in your opinion, to what I'm saying when there's 3, 4, 5 people in a pot. It always seems to me that there are 2 people that have some sort of draw or have some sort of callable hand. I feel like that happens a lot more online than in live games. In live games, usually people are taking down the pot and there's maybe one person with a big hand. Usually 2 or 3 people aren't flopping top pair. 2 or 3 people aren't flopping nut flush draw, second nut flush draw, open-ended straight draw, somebody flops 2 pair. I seem to think it happens a lot more online than live.
Yeah, I would disagree with that. I think that again, they have statistical analysis they can do of that, and yeah, it's the same as it is live.
Well, let's talk about the amount of hands that you're seeing live compared to online, because in live you actually have someone that's dealing the cards. There's 9 people around you typically if you're playing a 9-person game, not a 6-person game. But online you're seeing almost twice as many hands in an hour, maybe 3 times as many hands in an hour, Noah?
Yeah, you see a lot more hands when you're playing online, and I think that affects how people perceive what's happening.
Right.
All right, fair enough. I mean, look, to each his own. Nobody is forcing anybody to play online poker, and I think that I'm a person of choices, right? I like a city with choices. I'm just saying personally, I'm not in favor of legalizing online poker in this country, and the reason why I'm not is for all those reasons that I brought to you, but I appreciate your position. I appreciate your opinion, and listen, if they do legalize it, so be it. People have the right to do it. Nobody's forcing me to play. In fact, I probably will play, but I'll be playing very small tournaments and very small cash games. But listen, no, I appreciate your perspective on this. I actually like Mr. Yang. I think he's a good candidate. I think he's a good guy, and hopefully we'll get him on the show sometime. And I can promise you when we do get him on the show, we'll invite you to come in studio as well, okay?
That'd be great.
All right. Appreciate you coming in, Noah. Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
you.
All right, well, this has been a fun week of radio. It always is with the Vegas Take, and we're going to have some fun. We didn't even talk UNLV hoops, but they got a big game Saturday against Kansas
college
State.
Football.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that on Monday, I
Bama,
promise you.
LSU, Penn State, Minnesota.
We will get to that on Monday. We have run out of time. Big UNLV game against Kansas State at the Thomas & Mack Center Saturday. We will be there. We will have plenty of sports to talk about on Monday, and something tells me Trump will do something stupid over the weekend. So we will have time to talk about that. We will take a 48-hour break, something like that, and we'll be back at you. Sean Hannity coming up next, folks. Have a great weekend.
Hey, I'm Hall of Fame catcher Johnny Bench. I used to hit dingers and throw lasers when I was a Major League Baseball player. Now I do yard work, raise my boys, and get